Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the City Planning Commission's public hearing. And Madam Secretary, please begin.
Good morning. This is the City Planning Commission public meeting held in Spector Hall, 22 Reade Street. Today is Wednesday, February 18, 2015. As a courtesy during the proceedings, we ask that you please turn off all cell phones and beepers. All speakers should fill out a speaker's card at the desk outside of Spector Hall. In addition, we ask that those providing testimony please identify yourself, limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and speak clearly into the microphone. I will now call the roll. Chairman Weisbrod.
Here.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Here.
Commissioner Besser.
Here.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Here.
Commissioner Delauss.
Here.
Commissioner Dweck.
Here.
Commissioner Edie.
Here.
Commissioner Efron.
Here.
Commissioner Jung. Commissioner Levin.
Here.
Commissioner Marin.
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz. A quorum is present. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 4, 2015.
On the minutes, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, no abstentions. Minutes are approved.
Scheduling. On calendar numbers 1 through 5, we have resolutions for adoption. Scheduling Wednesday, March 4, 2015, for a public hearing to be held in Spector Hall, 22 Reade Street.
On the resolutions, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolutions are approved, Madam Secretary.
The next part of the calendar is the report section on page 4. Borough of the Bronx, calendar numbers 6 through 9. Calendar number 6, CD3, C150152, ZMX. Calendar number 7, C150153, HUX. Calendar number 8, C150154, HAX. Calendar number 9, C120323, MMX. In the matter of applications for amendments to the zoning map and the city map for a UDOT designation, project approval, and amendment to the Melrose Commons Urban Renewal Plan. For favorable reports on calendar numbers 6, 7, 8, and 9. Chairman Weisbrod.
Aye.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo. Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz. Favorable reports have been adopted on calendar numbers 6, 7, 8, and 9. Borough of the Bronx, calendar number 10, CD8, N140433, ZAX, in the matter of an application for the grant of an authorization concerning 6033 Huxley Avenue, for adoption on calendar number 10. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz. Calendar number 10 has been adopted. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 11, CD 11, C140352, PQM, in the matter of an application for the acquisition of property concerning the Beatrice Lewis Senior Center and Addie Mae Collins Daycare Center. For a favorable report on calendar number 11, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Well, I just want to salute my colleagues. I think the fact that we see a lot of these leases for these centers does not diminish the fact that they house precious commodities, seniors and children. And I think the vigilance that we bring to the upkeep and maintenance of these facilities is appreciated. I vote yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Yes. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz. A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 11. Borough of Manhattan, calendar numbers 12 through 14, concerning 505-513 West 43rd Street. These items have been laid over. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 15, CD2, N140142, ZAM, in the matter of an application for the grant of an authorization concerning 106-112 Spring Street, for adoption on calendar number 15. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz. Calendar number 15 has been adopted. Borough of Queens, calendar numbers 16 and 17. Calendar number 16, CD4, C150125ZMQ. Calendar number 17, C150126 HAQ. In the matter of applications for an amendment of the zoning map for a UDAP designation and project approval concerning the Corona Senior Residence. For favorable reports on calendar numbers 16 and 17, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Bessa.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner De La Us.
Yes.
Commissioner Duarte. Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz. Favorable reports have been adopted on calendar numbers 16 and 17. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 18, CD3 N140370 RCR, in the matter of an application for the grant of a certification concerning 4093 Richmond Avenue for adoption on calendar number 18. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Bessa.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner De La Us.
Yes.
Commissioner Duarte.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz. Calendar number 18 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 19, CD3 N140076 RCR, in the matter of an application for the grant of a certification concerning Apricot Court, Lemon Drop Court, and Turner Street. For adoption on calendar number 19, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Bessa.
Recused.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner De La Us.
Yes.
Commissioner Duarte.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz. Calendar number 19 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar numbers 20 and 21. Calendar number 20, CD2, N15008 ZAR. Calendar number 21, N15009 ZCR. In the matter of applications for the grant of authorization and for a certification concerning 393 Lighthouse Avenue / Bellow Residence for adoption on calendar numbers 20 and 21. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Bessa.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner De La Us.
Yes.
Commissioner Duarte. Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron. Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz. Calendar numbers 20 and 21 have been adopted. The next part of the calendar is the public hearing section on page 16. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 22, CD13, C140209 ZSK. A public hearing in the matter of an application for the grant of a special permit concerning 2702 West 15th Street.
First speaker is Josh Rhinesmith, is that correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Rhinesmith.
Good morning, Chairman Weisbrod and members of the commission. My name is Josh Rhinesmith. I'm from the firm of Warshall Burstein, appearing on behalf of the applicant, SO Development Enterprises. This is an application that's been filed pursuant to sections 106-32A and C of the special Coney Island mixed-use district regulations, seeking a special permit to allow the construction of a new three-story commercial warehouse building within the M12 Coney Island mixed-use district. The applicant is an affiliate of St. Petersburg Global Trade House, which is a long-standing retailer of Russian souvenirs, literature, music, and movies, with their first location being opened in 1994 on Brighton Beach Avenue in the Brighton Beach community. They have since have additional retail locations, one additional in Brooklyn and one in Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. They do a significant online and catalog business and also have their retail stores. The proposed warehouse facility is going to support their retail and online business. The applicant currently leases space in East New York and their desire is to centralize their distribution locations within the community that the retail stores are based, as well as their employees. So the special district regulations actually require a special permit for any development at this location due to the property's lot size and street frontage on a street that is not a designated retail or a designated commercial building. We're also, in addition to the special permit to allow the development, we're requesting a modification of the open area requirement that would be required along the portion of our side lot line that abuts the rear lot line of properties that are improved with residential uses. If you can see on this site plan, it is the portion of the building that is located within the shaded area. And that required open area must be provided within 5 feet of curb level. So essentially, it would prevent us from building at all in this portion of the zoning lot and would create an irregular shaped building. In addition, as you can see, the property is extremely irregularly configured, and by waiving the open area requirement, we would be allowed to put our elevator and stair cores in the portion of the property that has the least usable space and create a more open floor plate for our warehouse and storage uses. I'm joined here by project architect Walter Marin. We're happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Mr. Rhinesmith, who are you, the owner, the developer? What is exactly your role?
I am the owner's land use attorney.
Aha.
Okay, and the principal of SO Development is actually on her way here, but she got held up in traffic. So she does want to be at the hearing.
Okay. Questions? Ms. Delausse.
Hi, thanks for being here. Can you tell us how big, what the addition would be in square footage, and then what the square footage is of the East New York location that will be consolidated into this location?
I believe the square footages are roughly the same size. The proposed building is going to be just shy of 24,000 square feet. The lot area of the property is just shy of 12,000 square feet. We will provide 2 open parking spaces down in this corner to satisfy our required parking. And then the remainder of the ground floor is going to be open space for loading and movement of goods and processing of online and catalog orders. The ground floor will have a total of approximately 11,200 square feet, and then the second and third floors will each have just over 6,000 square feet of space.
Ms. Efron.
Thank you. It's nice to see windows along the street wall, given that it's a warehouse. I'm just wondering if you could talk about the wall that says side view that doesn't have any windows, the blank wall, its accessibility, given that there is much graffiti on the area on the building, on the
It's pretty much the
location
the
as
fence.
it is now.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Well, first off, I'll get to the wall in a second. I think the prevalence of graffiti is primarily due to the fact that there isn't a presence on the street. The property is currently used, the majority of the property is currently used for dead vehicle storage. That's accessed through the property behind from 15th Street. So property is used for dead vehicle storage, and that's all coming from the adjoining street. So there's actually no entering and exiting this property, and so there's no real presence on 15th Street. I believe the construction of a new building and having people in there constantly is actually going to reduce the amount of graffiti. In terms of the blank wall is going to be along this side lot line where the parking spaces, or this portion of the building where the parking spaces are, and then along the rear portion, or the side lot line. And there's not going to be any real access to this portion of the building that would face the residential uses. And then the remaining bit here would just be from the parking spaces. And I spoke with the applicant about this, and they are committed to ensuring that graffiti, if any is put on the building, is removed as quickly as possible.
Just a question about the parking area, if I may, Chairman. How will it be secured so that nobody will be able to enter it?
It is Right now, not proposed to have any gating. It's a very small area, essentially just enough to pull on the car, or pull the two cars in. We don't have a gate that is being proposed. Is that correct, Walter?
Thank you.
Any other questions for, I have one, Ms. Levin, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if this is a question for you or for the architect, but we have the, as you're well aware, the borough president has taken issue with the side yard waiver that you're asking for. And so I'd like some more information to understand why you need it and what kind of an imposition it's going to be on the houses on Hart Place, how
Yeah.
deep their yards are and how much of a looming presence it's going to
Understood.
be for them, and
So-
whether you can accommodate the request made by the
Okay.
borough president.
All right, so I will ask Walter to come up and speak in a minute. The properties that are on Hart Place have approximately a 25 to 30-foot rear yard. The portion of the building right here, the third floor, will rise to a height of 45 feet. I would like to note that a residential building could be constructed within 5 feet of our lot line that could rise to a height of 40 feet. So the actual difference between the two isn't that much. Residential would require one 5-foot side yard along that lot line, but it's, the difference is actually minimal. And then in terms of why we've located the core, or the building rises to that height at this lot line, primarily has to do with the core of the building being located in the space, the portion of the building that has the least usable open area. This is a warehouse and storage and distribution use, and so we need to maximize the amount of open floor area we have on the ground floor. If we were to comply with the borough president's request, it would require the movement of the core either to the center of the building or to the other side, which is, as you can see, the property is very irregularly configured. This portion of the building offers us the most open floor area for our use.
So could you help me understand the drawing that's in the lower left here, on the left board, the one that says rear elevation?
If you don't mind, I'd like to
Wait for the
ask,
architect? Okay.
project architect to come up and explain that.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. Rhinesmith? Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Rhinesmith. The next speaker is Walter Marin, or Marin? Marin. And
Good morning.
good morning. Do you wish to make, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So let's look at the rear area. Now, when, I'm going to say historically, the way zoning was developed, the intent was at the rear portion of the lot, when adjacent to a residential, they wanted a greater buffer area. What's the disadvantage to us is that by definition, this little unusual lot is considered a rear yard. Under normal circumstances, we'd be addressing it back here. So from a residential point of view, the advantage would have been at the rear, and the code was written for that purpose. By definition, this is considered a rear yard for us, which puts this sort of area into a very unuseful, because simply of the nature of the corner. So the historical statistics is that you want a 30-foot rear yard for a residential and then extending it. I couldn't tell you what it is, but I will tell you that it's already over 30 feet, their rear yard. So it does not put any burden onto that residential at all, simply by just the two definitions. One of them, it happens to be more of a side yard for us than it is a rear yard by definition. Because of how it's located, it's defined as a rear yard. And so, again, that area is the area that really has the less amount of usefulness for us. And so by burdening it further, it only makes the conditions of the building worse.
Mr. Knuckles.
Good morning, Walter.
Good morning.
You had mentioned before you were called about a possible impediment around the parking so that it'd be more difficult for graffiti to be placed on what is, I think, what, a 38-foot span on that wall? I
Yes.
think it is, yeah.
I
You
mean,
wanna
yeah,
elaborate on
putting
that?
in a gate there would not be an issue for us. And we do it something that's obviously aesthetically pleasing for the building, pleasant to the neighborhood. I don't think there would be an objection for us putting that simple gate in front of it.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Maron? Ms. Levin?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask you about the sidewalls. I guess we have the image here of, on the left board, top right-hand corner of the end of the building that's going to be next to the parking. But I imagine the other end of the building is going to be a large, a tall blank wall as well.
So this small portion it's this portion in here,
Yeah?
it will rise to 3 stories.
Okay. My question is an aesthetic one. Inasmuch as they are going to be blank walls facing the world for a long time, what treatment do you plan for them?
They're going to be brick.
Ah, okay.
It's a brick building.
Okay, and so brick on the ends as well?
The entire building is brick, and obviously, we're, as a firm, we don't like stucco, simply because it doesn't age well. You know, brick by its nature, it's timeless.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Maron? Thank you, Mr. Maron.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? If not, the hearing is closed. Thank you very much.
Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 23, CD 15, N150109ZRK. A continued hearing in a matter of an application for an amendment to the zoning resolution concerning the Cherry Hill Gourmet text amendment.
Let me just say at the outset that we have a number of speakers that wish to be heard on this matter. I would estimate that the hearing will be at least an hour, maybe a little more than that. So if you are here on another matter, I would say that in terms of your own time, get a cup of coffee or whatever. But it will be at least an hour. We will proceed as we do when there are a lot of speakers on a matter of this nature, that we will first hear from those in favor for approximately a half an hour, and then switch to those who are opposed for approximately a half an hour, and go back and forth until all the speakers can be heard. I will try to give some advance notice to you on who the upcoming speakers are, so you can judge accordingly. And we will start on this matter with the first 5 speakers, who will be Richard Lobel, Gary Silver, Douglas Pick, Nick Parascondola, and R. Chernine, I believe. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correct. What?
Very close. Very close.
Very close? Good.
But no cigar.
But better than I usually do, so. Okay, the first speaker is Richard Lobel. Mr. Lobel.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Richard Lobel. I'm from the law firm of Sheldon Lobel PC. It's good to see you this morning. We are here today on behalf of Cherry Hill Gourmet Market, and the application is for a text amendment of Section 94061 of the Special Sheepshead Bay District. Commissioners, this application has obviously engendered much conversation and deliberation, and when I've gone to Community Board 15 in Brooklyn before, my applications have been mixed, and some of them have been supported and some of them have been opposed. It has always been a fair and open discussion. When I went for this application, it was clear to me that the people of Sheepshead Bay and the people of this area were overwhelmingly in support of this application. There were dozens of people who were at the hearing. Many of them wished to come today, and I asked them not to attend in respect and deference to the commission. But the final vote of the community board that day of 20-2 really kind of summed up the fact that while there is a special district here, and while that special district created in 1973 basically embodied at the time the vision of this area, that vision, as does many districts in the city, has changed. And so this area is well served by the Cherry Hill Gourmet Market, such so that after Hurricane Sandy, there was a groundswell of support. This is the one of the only institutions, one of the only markets with produce, with fresh baked goods, with dairy, with essentials that reopened immediately after the storm. And so if you look at a special district and it's defined by the area and defined by the people of that area, in my opinion, the people of this area have spoken, and from the standpoint of community character, this is a well-received application. The application here basically would involve legalizing the Cherry Hill Gourmet Market. The building itself was constructed in 1934, the FWI Lundy's building, which is a landmark and was landmarked in 1992. But basically, as far as landmarking goes, this building remains the same. And it's not an issue of the character of this building, which may not be altered, which basically, when I hear landmarks talk about buildings, they are always in favor of adaptive reuse and moving the use into modern times. This building right now is heavily utilized as far as the food store is concerned. People in this area rely upon the goods that are sold at this food store. It is a staple of the community. And so the use of this food store and the square footage here, and which amounts to maybe 20,000 square feet roughly in zoning floor area, is important and is one which would merit the action of this commission in passing the proposed text amendment. So while I understand that there is opposition to this, I would say that when you look at the history of the use of this building and its use today, that in 1973, it was the restaurant existed actually from its opening through 1977, 1978. And after that time, it fell into disuse and disrepair. And so now we have an active use, and we really want to continue that here, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lobel. Questions, Mr. Lobel? Ms. Deleuze.
You seem to have all the great clients.
They come by. That's what they do.
I'm wondering if you could just comment both on the community board and the borough president's recommendations. Obviously, the borough president is suggesting disapproval with conditions. I'm wondering if you could speak to that.
Sure. I think I would first address the creation of a special permit for this use, and then I would address the conditions. And also, I'd say that I think that this applicant, while I have brought other applications and was said somewhat in jest, this applicant here has operated in good faith and has been continuously trying to legalize this, both at the Department of Buildings. Eventually, we brought a pre-application meeting with the BSA, and so now we're at City Planning. So the special permit that was requested by the Borough President's Office, I believe would, on a level of the applicant, on an individual level, would be inappropriate because I think it would result in the closure of the food store here. There is currently litigation, and I'm joined today, by the way, by Gary Silver, the project architect, as well as Douglas Pick, who is the counsel to Cherry Hill in other matters, and he may talk to this, but I think that from a personal level, as far as the food store is concerned, it would be fatal to push this to a special permit, which would engender an additional ULURP application and additional time. Solely on a use level and on the appropriateness of a special permit with regards to the land use, special permits, in my opinion, are for imposing conditions upon a use when the use is seen as consistent with the area, subject to specific conditions. We have a C22 district here, and indeed the entire Emmons Avenue within the Special Sheepshead Bay District is a C22. In the City of New York, C22 districts are permit food stores with no limitation on floor area without question. And so I think that the use here is really appropriate for the C22, is appropriate for the underlying district. And I think that imposing additional conditions on this and additional ULURP would be unnecessary in that you have a district where in areas F and G, which constitutes the majority of the frontage of the district, food stores are permitted as of right with no limitation. So really, you're really talking about a district which already permits food stores, and so I think the character here would not require a special permit. With regards to the conditions that were suggested, both at the borough president and particularly at the community board, they asked for 3 conditions. Number 1 would be no enlargement of the existing use. The second would be no encroachment into the existing parking area. And the third would be no reduction in the number of seats or chairs for the current cafe and restaurant service. We don't oppose those conditions. We're not and we've basically gone on the record as saying we understand the conditions and we don't oppose. As a matter of fact, given that this building exists at a greater than a 1 FAR, which pursuant to the underlying R5 is permitted a commercial floor area of 1, we wouldn't even be able to enlarge. So much of that kind of goes away in that discussion. The reason that we haven't changed our application and espoused proactively to say that to include these conditions is because we don't necessarily feel it's appropriate for a C22 district to impose those limitations. It would be unique in the city to try to halt an expansion of a food store when indeed entire sections of the zoning text are devoted to increasing the availability of such produce and goods to local areas and local neighborhoods. And as a matter of fact, and perhaps the owner can speak to this, there is not an overwhelming number of food stores in this area. And I think that's one of the reasons why the local community, and particularly I think the local Russian community, is so in favor of this application, because this provides goods and services that they cannot otherwise get.
Ms. Efron.
Thank you. Could you just explain the ownership structure or lease structure and who exactly your client is and whether or not they actually lease the parking lot that's in question?
So my client is Cherry Hill Gourmet Market. However, I think that Douglas Pick, the attorney, the general counsel for Cherry Hill, is probably more appropriate, will more appropriately answer that. He's much better versed and can do that more in an easier manner. So I would defer that to him. And I know he's on the speaker's list.
Ms. Levin.
Well, Mr. Lobel, maybe this is one for Mr. Pick as well. But in addition to answering that question, I'd also be interested in hearing the story of how it came to be that the market moved in, apparently with some building violations resulting. What was the process they went through to make the changes, and what efforts to comply with city regulations, and then how has the unwinding of the various violations gone?
Sure. I think Mr. Pick actually, with the assistance of the owner, can better address that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Lobel? Thank you very much, Mr. Lobel.
Thank you to the commission.
The next speaker is Gary Silver.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm the architect, the project architect for this application, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Mr. Silver? Hearing none, Mr. Silver, you are excused. The next speaker is the aforementioned Douglas Pick. The eagerly awaited Douglas Pick.
Thank you. Doug Pick, Pick and Sabiki. We're counsel to Cherry Hill Gourmet. And with respect to your question, Commissioner, there are 3 owners to the premises, and Mr. Sev, who is the voice behind the company, owns approximately 2/3 of the company. With respect to the lease, it's an approximate 38-year lease going back to 2007. It's a long-term lease. We expect to stay there.
Mr. Pick, just to be clarified, when you say the company, is that the fee owner or is that Cherry Hill Gourmet?
Cherry Hill Gourmet.
I think the question was in the first instance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The structure here, who is the owner? What is the nature of the relationship between the owner and the lessee? And I gather Cherry Hill Gourmet is a sublessee.
That's correct. Sheepshead Restaurant is the owner of the building. They lease the premises out to Lundy's, who's currently in Chapter 11. That's our landlord. Lundy's subleased it to us. So the overlandlord would be Sheepshead, our landlord would be Lundy's, and we currently occupy the bulk of the building.
And Sheepshead is an independent entity from both Lundy's and Cherry Hill Gourmet.
That's correct.
What? I think you said the length of the lease between Lundy's and Sheepshead is how long?
That's a long-term lease. It's 45 years, I believe. 50-year lease.
And the sublease is 38?
Approximately 38, dating back to 2007.
38 to go or 38 altogether?
About 30 years to go,
Okay.
give or take.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did you want to make a statement, or do you want to just answer questions?
Answer any questions anybody has.
Okay. Ms. Efron?
Has the lease been affirmed in bankruptcy court? It's still,
No,
Lundy's
the
still
lease-
is the tenant?
We're not in bankruptcy.
No, but Lundy's is.
Lundy's is. Lundy's currently is in litigation with the overlandlord Sheepshead. Sheepshead has filed a motion to have Lundy's assume or reject that lease. It is Lundy's intention to assume that lease. Our lease is not in bankruptcy.
Okay.
So I'm a little unclear. It sounded from what you're saying, Sheepshead has, if I understood you correctly, is pressing Lundy's to either assume or reject the lease, or and from what you're saying, Lundy's is prepared to assume the lease?
That's correct. It's normal procedure in bankruptcy court to have a tenant either assume, meaning cure all the defaults under the lease and continue the lease, or in the alternative, reject the lease and move out.
Right.
In this particular instance, Lundy's wants to stay in there and has told the judge that they intend to assume the lease and stay in the premises. Currently, Lundy's is working out certain issues with its overlandlord, Sheepshead. Their negotiations now, they have a mediator that's been appointed to assist in addressing those issues. We anticipate that eventually they will resolve their issues.
And from what you're saying, Sheepshead is prepared to, and in fact, would encourage Lundy's to assume the lease? Is that a fair statement?
Well, I can't speak for what Sheepshead wants or doesn't want. I'm not involved in those negotiations. I can state to the panel, to the commissioners here, they've stated to us they want us to stay. They want.
They meaning Sheepshead? Or
Sheepshead. Sheepshead is in favor of us remaining in the premises no matter what the outcome is with Lundy's. We have a non-disturbance agreement with Sheepshead, which allows us to stay. And again, speaking with their counsel, they have emphasized to us that no matter what happens with Lundy's, they're going to ask us to stay, and we will stay.
Can I just finish one question?
Yes.
And just if you could say how much of the space your client occupies as a percentage of the
The main
entire
building?
and whether the parking lot's included in that as lease space.
Parking lot is included. It is within our lease, so we have control of the entire parking lot. With respect to the percentage of the building, I'll leave that to Mr. LaBelle.
No, please, to Mr. Pick, don't
Just tell
testify
him.
again.
Oh.
Just tell Mr.
Approximately 20,000 of 50,000 square.
Okay. The answer to the question is 20,000 of 50,000 square feet. And I apologize for not having that answer for you.
Sorry, thank you.
Mr. Dweck?
Just for clarification, we were led to believe originally that Sheepshead was had filed a lawsuit against Lundy's based on your client's non-conforming use. Nothing to do with the bankruptcy court or an assignment of the lease in bankruptcy court.
Prior to the filing of the bankruptcy petition by Lundy's, I believe there was a proceeding by Sheepshead to evict Lundy's, and one of the primary bases was the non-conforming use of the premises. But that is between Lundy's and Sheepshead. With respect to the non-conforming use, no matter what their real ulterior motive might be, they want us to stay.
Did they did they agree to the assignment of the lease? Sheepshead.
Yes, they were.
Did Sheepshead agree to? Did they sign off on an assignment of the lease to Cherry Gourmet? Sublette. Well, it'd be an assignment from Lundy's to, or something.
Well, presumably, yes, because we have a non-disturbance agreement with them to stay in the premises, so they're well aware we're in the premises, and they're well aware that no matter what happens with respect to Lundy's, we have the ability to stay under the non-disturbance agreement.
Okay.
So the answer to the question, I believe, is yes.
When did do you know when Lundy's filed for bankruptcy?
I believe it was in May of 2014, if I got the month correct.
And when did they cease operations?
Lundy's has not ceased operations. Nobody's ceased operations. Lundy's is our landlord.
Correct. I'm saying, when did they cease operations? Was the only operations they had in place the restaurant?
Lundy's is really not operating the premises. They just have the
No,
lease
I
with
understand.
us.
I'm saying, is the only asset, let me phrase the question differently, is the only asset that they have left the leasehold on the restaurant.
I believe that's
on the
their
space.
primary asset is leasehold in the restaurant.
Thank you.
Very well.
Mr. Cantor?
So is it fair to say that Sheepshead knew the limitations on the site, and that Lundy's knew the limitations on the site?
Absolutely.
Your client did not know the limitations on the site?
No, that would be inaccurate. They knew about the limitations of the site. We knew about the limitations on the site. We hired, prior to my being involved in the case, another law firm to address those issues. Unfortunately, that law firm back in 2009, 2008, 2010 mishandled the case, and there's been a malpractice action brought against them. But they were retained to address this issue, and they didn't.
And when did your client take the place, take the site?
We took possession in 2007.
So it was but when you took possession, until the time you retained him, found out the attorney wasn't effective, it was 2 years.
Well, no. It was in 2008, 2009 that we ran into problems with respect to the council. I can't tell you the first day council.
I'm trying to understand why you took the deal in the first place when you had an encumbered parcel.
Well, we were going to, my understanding, again, this dates me, but my understanding was from day one, everybody understood the non-conforming use and everybody understood it would be addressed. Better come lately than not at all with respect to addressing the issue, but we're addressing the issue now. We're making sure it moves forward and a determination can be made on it. We're not delaying. We're not holding back. Anybody who requests an adjournment, we oppose it to the extent that we can. We want to see the issue addressed.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
I'm still a bit confused because on the face of it, there appears to be a conflict between what Sheepshead wants and what you say it wants. And so I think it would be, is there anything in writing or any concrete evidence regarding Sheepshead's desire to keep, other than the non-disturbance clause, which I would ask you to submit to us, but subsequent to the non-disturbance clause and subsequent to the bankruptcy action, is there anything that that Cherry Hill Gourmet has in writing from Sheepshead indicating that it is prepared to accept
Yes.
Cherry Hill as a tenant should Lundy's bankruptcy go through, or if Lundy's fails to assume the lease?
I fully understand your question. With respect to a response, we are bankruptcy counsel. We're involved in the bankruptcy case every single day and have been involved with counsel to Sheepshead. We've spoken to them more often than not with respect to these issues. Mr. Corey of the firm of Hagan, Corey and Associates, who's counsel, landlord-tenant counsel to Sheepshead, has, one, advised me over the phone clearly and has advised me in person that they want us to stay. Number two, we've spoken to the landlord who is in court, Sheepshead, who's advised us that they're interested in having us stay. There was a comment made at, I think at the community board public hearing, that the landlord did not want us to stay. That was clarified on the record by Mr. Pappas, who also advised.
Who is Mr.
Oh,
Pappas?
at the borough, Mr. Pappas is Lundy's. He advised the borough president's office on the record that they want us to stay. And in response to that, I reached out to Mr. Corey at Hagan, Corey and Associates, and he wrote me a letter dated January 19th, 2015, which has been submitted, which, if I might, it's only one sentence. I can read into the record what it says. It says, "Dear Doug, I'm in receipt of your email dated Friday, January 16, 2015. Please be advised that neither myself nor my client made any statement to anyone that we oppose Cherry Hill's application for the zoning text amendment." He was very clear. They want us to stay in writing, telephonically, and in person.
And he represents Sheepshead?
It's correct.
It would be helpful to get a letter that is a little more specific than that. which
That wouldn't
is,
be a
At the
problem.
moment, it says that he does not oppose this application, which is a little different from saying he wishes you to stay. So,
We can get that. I can make the representation, everybody here, as counsel. Those statements were made to me, were made in court to me, telephonically to me, and that they made it very clear to me that they want us to stay. But we can have that clarified, and we can have a letter submitted to you.
thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Peck?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Peck. Next speaker is Nick Parascondola.
Morning, everybody. I represent myself as a longtime customer of the store, longtime resident of the neighborhood. Since I'm 2.5 years old, I'll be 40 this year. And, yeah, big year. And I think to take this store out for some sort of technicality would be silly because it employs over 60 people from, 18 years old on. It has things that aren't found anywhere else. My friend who's from Odessa, when the store opened up, I remember him saying, it's like a piece of home that I'll never get to see again because God knows if I'll ever be able to afford to fly back. And my grandmother's been there since, his grandmother since she's 40 and now she's 85, said it's nice to have a little reminder of what home was because, again, health-wise, she could never get back there. But when you walk around the store, you see a lot of different, moving parts from the guys who are doing the groceries to the fresh cakes, to the fresh meats and everything else. And when it comes together, it's a nice working machine. You don't look around and go, oh, geez, this is the store, like I'm a little disappointed. Nothing ever looks out of place. Everything looks spotless at all times. You could eat off the floor. That's how clean the store is. Even outside, it's organized. The parking is organized. The delivery is organized. There's never any, you never have to even look around for 10 seconds before someone's like, can I help you? And that alone, and bringing all the business to the community, and people from all walks of life, from me being Italian to Russian to whatever, walking in and communicating with each other. I think it's a great place, and it would be a sin to take it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Parascondola?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Mr. or Ms. Chernine. Is that? Come forth. Good morning. And I'm pronouncing it pretty much correctly?
Yes,
Could you make it perfect, but how do you pronounce it?
right. Call me Raisa. It's much easier for you. It's like Mrs. Gorbachev, but I am a live cheese. I'm younger. My name is Raisa Chernina. I'm customer of the Cherry Hill. Plus, I live in this area since 1993. I moved to this area. I'm in this country 35 years. And condo when I live, it is first condo in this area. When I bought it, my condo, my mom said, what you buying? Look at this, this crime. It's terrible condition, but I love this house where I live, and I moved in. And now it's years later, it's absolutely different area. It's like summer. In the summertime, it's absolutely incredible. I don't want to say anything about the technical problem or anything. I want to say as consumer. Plus, I have a non-profit organization. It's called Be Proud Foundation, and I am proud who I am. I am Jewish from Russia. Not Russian, Jewish from Russia. It's two different. Unfortunately, people doesn't understand differently. And during this 2012, this was first store open. We lost a lot of things, like a lot of people in this city. And December 2012, this store organized Toys for Tots for Marine Corps in December when everything was dark in this area. This store donate to 600 family every Passover, donate food. Every single Passover, already 5 years. They donate food to during Jewish high holiday, they brought people for lunch. Not a lot of people can afford lunch in this area. So many poor people, and we have to help them. We have no choice. We brought here to help other people. And I don't want to say a lot of things, but 1947, I tried to read history of this country. I wasn't born here. It's not my fault, like I said before. 1947, Jackie Robinson became first black American baseballist in this league. And Mr. Reade, who was general manager, he saw ahead what's happened with this country. And he said, don't look it back, look it ahead. Time change. And now I said, time change. I want to say something. When people come here to fulfill their dreams, to study, invent, and contribute to our culture, they make our country is more attractive place for businesses to locate and create jobs for everyone. I don't want two classes of citizens in this country. I want everybody to prosper, President Obama. So don't prosecute Cherry Hill Market for prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Janina. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for coming. We will have one more witness speaker on the pro side, and then we'll switch to those opposed. Mr. Namek? Namek? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Namek Yevdeyev. This is the best. I've been working for Cherry Hill almost 3 years. I'm listening all negative comments, and I can't believe this is 2015. This is not 1973. I respect the law of hard labor. I understand the zoning issue. However, the neighborhood has changed. Time has changed. I'm an employee of Cherry Hill, like I said. I'm also a family man. I can tell you that we made a difference in the neighborhood. Cherry Hill is a very unique gourmet store. It attracts our area. It attracts Shipshead Bay. As a tax-paying citizen, I'm really concerned about my job and my family. Please allow us to stay employed and support our families. We are part of this community. We are part of America. As our president will say, yes, we can. Can we change zoning? Yes, we can. But we need your help. Please, let's get all together, and please allow us to stay employed, and please allow us to support our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Namek. Any questions for Mr. Namek? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we are now going to switch for half an hour to those opposed. The first 5 speakers will be Barbara Fay, Cliff Bruckenstein, Tov Chachnoff, Judith Byron, and Ed Jaworski. So first, Barbara, is it Fay or Say? Zay, okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Barbara Zay of the Historic Districts Council, which is the advocate for New York City's designated historic districts and neighborhoods meriting preservation. HDC is opposed to the zoning text amendment proposed for the individual landmark FWIL Lundy Brothers building in the special Sheepshead Bay District and views this amendment as a legalization. The special district was created in 1973 to strengthen and protect the unique character of this waterfront community. And like all comprehensive plans, this can only be successful if its special provisions are continuously adhered to, enforcing the plan in the long term. The tenant, Cherry Hill, has consistently displayed illegal action and poor stewardship of the individual landmark, special district, and the law. In 2009, the tenant altered the landmarked Lundys by undertaking work without Landmarks Preservation Commission permits, which the Sheepshead Bay Plum Beach Civic Association described as a, quote, desecration of the landmark at the time. As consolation, Cherry Hill offered that they were unaware of the building's landmark status. Regardless, Cherry Hill was aware of the building's location within the Sheepshead Bay Special District, and that is why it was supposed to operate as a restaurant with a small market component. It has since been operating as the reverse, an enormous market with a small dining component. The fact that Cherry Hill has survived as a business in this space is irrelevant. As long as this store remains open, the community and city's hard-won vision for this special district remains flouted. HDC finds a text amendment for special zoning for the benefit of one tenant unacceptable. If this use is determined to be retroactively legal, it will undermine the function of the district as a long-term tool to preserve and protect this historic harbor, and will set a dangerous precedent regarding the function of the zoning resolution and the law citywide. Thank you.
Ms. A. Yes. So I understand your concerns about the district, but I'm a little surprised about your approach to the building itself, given the fact that Historic Districts Council, as I think Mr. Lobel indicated earlier, I would think, would favor the adaptive reuse of this, of any landmark, and this has been a troubled landmark in terms of being economically sustainable for some time. So I'm just sort of curious as to why specifically you, as a, from your perspective in the Historic Districts Council, oppose the this adaptive reuse of this building.
Well, the Landmarks Commission does not regulate use. So while they are supportive of adaptive reuse as a concept, that is not their primary concern, and the Historic Districts Council does not believe that nothing else could ever happen in this space. So changing the law for this temporary issue does not, we do not support that change. So this building has a life beyond its present use, and that that zoning amendment would change it forever, and that we're not supportive of.
But the track record, the economic track record of this building over the past few decades has not been, other than this use, apparently has not been very promising. Is that correct?
Right. And that's something that, I mean, we simply are concerned about the integrity of the law, and changing that law sets a precedent for future other businesses to change their uses as well. So that's something that we just
to be clear, so you're concerned about the, in this particular instance, the integrity of the uses in the zoning resolution as opposed to the specific integrity of the building as a landmark.
Yes, I mean, I think that they're inextricably linked. I think that the zoning use, I think that it's important for the law to be upheld in this case, because if every business decided to go for an amendment, then I think that changes the law, and that's we're not in favor of that.
And then just one other thing, you mentioned in your testimony that when Cherry Hill acquired this lease, it desecrated the existing landmark. Could you say exactly how they did that, and then has that been restored, or has there been a promise to restore it, or is it irreparable?
That is something I would have to get back to you on. I'm not familiar with all of the details of this specific application. I've just been here to speak on behalf of the Historic Districts Council. I don't have all the background information with me, but I can get back to you with that.
Any other questions for Ms. A? Ms. Ortiz.
Hi, good morning. You mentioned your concern about the law being upheld with respect to uses. One of the things that came up during the review session was that the specialty food store, which is really a hybrid kind of retail use. It's not a conventional grocery store. Increasingly, I guess my point is increasingly uses change. The uses we saw in 1973 are not the kinds of uses we see now. So pharmacies, for instance, are increasingly selling a whole bunch of things, food, packaged food. Uses change. So where do you stand on the ability to address changing uses and recognizing that something like a specialty food market, which is this interesting hybrid, might be appropriate for this area?
So you're asking in regard to the landmarks issue?
Well, you seem to suggest that, these uses are frozen in time and that we need to remain true to a definition in 1973 of a kind of use that has evolved over time. We obviously have to recognize that uses evolve, so I'm curious where you stand on being able to address the evolution of uses.
Well, I think that it has to do with I would prefer to clarify that with you once I've conferred with my colleagues, because this is something that I've just been asked to speak. So I would like to just submit a letter, because I don't have the full background on this with me. So,
thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Ms. A? Thank you, Ms. A. Cliff Bruckenstein?
Hello, Cliff Bruckenstein. I'm a resident of Sheepshead Bay my entire life. I live within the special district, and I'm very unhappy to see that an illegal use for such a long period of time. It seems like the law can't be enforced. The law is only enforceable to certain people. And it's very, the market as a market, if it was 2 blocks away, would be totally okay, but not within that area. I really fully believe in special zoning and zoning in general. But it's very hard when you build a business and you don't start off legal. You really should start off running a business in a legal fashion. Many other businesses open up. They spend a lot of time. I have a friend that spent 2 years paying rent to open up a used car lot. Department of Motor Vehicles said, no, no, no. Finally, he got it. Why do they have an exception? And in occurrence with other food markets, there's many, many, many other food markets within that area. Sheepshead Bay has been a commercial strip for over 100 years. There are many other stores. There are supermarkets. There's a supermarket 1 block away from this location. 3 blocks away, there's another gourmet shop of similar. A block away from that is another one. A block away from that is another one. So you can't really say it's the only market in the area. I'm done with my statement.
Questions for Mr. Bruckenstein? Ms. Ortiz?
Hi, good morning. Given your familiarity with some of the other food markets in the area, could you speak to how they, compete or offer similar goods and services? Because our sense is that this is a specialty food market that offers Russian goods that are difficult to find in other places. So are they directly competing with some of these other markets that you referenced?
I'm of Russian descent, but I'm not a Russian marketer. It would be pretty unusual in how many Russian people live in the Coney Island, Brighton Beach, Sheepshead Bay, Manhattan Beach area. I'm pretty sure there are quite a few other stores that cater to them and to their needs and requirements.
So the nearest grocery stores that you mentioned, are they more conventional grocery stores, or do they offer, special, are they specialty grocery stores?
Well, 1 block away is a Walbaum supermarket, which is definitely a conventional supermarket. On East 19th Street and Avenue Z, there's a similar market like Cherry Hill, very similar in a lot of ways. I'm not much of a shopper. I don't do all the shopping. But I'm sure if you go into Brighton or onto Coney Island Avenue, there are others. We have a large ethnic community, and I can't see us not catering to all of them.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Reade?
Aside from the fact that they have been operating in an illegal fashion, did you have any specific concerns about the operation of the facility today?
I'm more concerned with the zoning text amendment than the daily, day-to-day operations, because if we change the zoning text, it could happen a block away. And there is a lot of zoning change planned for the area, and I would hate to see it just tumble down like a weed blowing across the street.
Just to clarify, this is a sub-district in and of itself, so it's the only building, I think, within this sub-district. And if instead of just furthering Mr. Eady's question, I guess, is if this applicant had applied initially, as you cited with your friend who's trying to open up a used car lot, and had asked for this zoning change and had not occupied the space ahead of that, would you have opposed this change?
If it was a zoning text change, yes. If it was a special permit, no.
And why on the special permit and not on the zoning text change?
It would be more enforceable and would be for a limited amount of time, a renewable amount of time, but it would be brought up every few years.
So I think the borough president had suggested a 10-year period of time. So I just want to get a sense of what would be demonstrated within that 10 years, that they operate in a safe manner, would you be looking for?
I would hope one wouldn't open up 10 blocks away or 5 blocks away within the special permit.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Buckenstein? Tove Chadnoff? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Correct me. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Tova Chatanov. I'm here speaking on behalf of Councilman Chaim Deitch. The following is his statement. As the elected city representative of the 48th District, of course, I am always supportive of businesses that bring revenue and jobs into our community. That being said, I cannot support this text amendment as it stands today. Cherry Hill occupies less than 50% of the Lundy's building, yet this amendment would cover the entire 48,000 square feet of Lundy's. What is the purpose of changing the usage for every other business in Sub-Area B? I must represent the interests of the other businesses in that building and in the Sheepshead Bay Special District as a whole. I am currently disapproving such a vague and dramatic adjustment to the unique zoning laws of the Special District. I have asked, and I continue to ask, that this application be rejected.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chadnoff.
Thank you.
Questions? Mr. Dweck?
Do you know if the councilman would be in favor of readdressing, I mean, this is over 40 years old, the Sheepshead Bay Special District. Do you know if the council member would be in favor of revisiting it and looking to see, bring it up to date and what changes have taken place over the last 40 years? Or is he satisfied with the way it is currently?
I can't speak to that. I can only speak to this issue specifically.
That'd be interesting to get some comments back from the council member.
I can ask him.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Judith Barron.
Good afternoon. Good morning. It's almost afternoon.
Still morning.
Judith Barron, President, Manhattan Beach Community Group. How many of you broke the law this morning? Did you pay your fare on the subway? Did you jump a turnstile? Did you go through a couple of red lights? The last time I looked, this country is a place of laws, and yes, we are all supposed to abide by them, or else we might have chaos. So why do I say this? The answer is that we are here because there are some, including this applicant, who don't believe in laws, nor rules, nor what ramifications this action will have on others. At the beginning, every elected representative, every civic association, the community board chairperson, all vehemently opposed this applicant when he began his crusade to create his illegal grocery store, where he thumbed his nose at everyone, where he continued to ignore multiple stop work orders. Fast forward to the present. The discourteous display of contempt by those workers from the grocery store to those who disagreed with them at the recent community board public hearing was a disgrace permitted by the chair, who, by the way, contrary to what Mr. LaBelle seemed to want you to know, they did not have a quorum, a voting quorum, to this past weekend where store employees were told to ask customers to sign a petition because the city wants to close the store. Yet they conveniently omitted telling customers that from day one this store was operating illegally, all the while arrogance from a person who broke the rules, the laws, and asked you to allow him to continue as usual with no penalties. We say no, there must be consequences for law breaking. The fines that go along with stop work orders and other violations must be paid, and an example should be made, or else communities like mine and others in the city are in jeopardy of similar intrusions on zoning. In essence, this application is for a spot zone. The problems with spot zoning create multiple problems, as I just mentioned, but the precedent created is horrid for neighborhoods, even those of us that are outside of the special district. We agree with the borough president, and now with what Councilman Deutsch seems to be saying to you, requesting that you say no to this application as it's been presented. If there are alternatives and alternative ways to keep this business operating legally, we would be amenable to evaluating those proposals. And so on behalf of all of those in Manhattan Beach who could not come here today, we hope you will deny this travesty of the American way. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank
if
you,
have
Ms.
them.
Barron. Questions? Mr. Cantor.
Thank you, Ms. Barron. You spoke solely to the subject of legality. And I think you've recognized I asked a similar question from here.
Mr. Cantor, I did. You and I have had a history called Brighton by the Sea, so yes, I do.
Thank you. Aside from when I say aside, putting aside the discussion of legality for the moment, do you have any objection to the use in terms of its value or its operation itself?
I think that you'll hear from people who say, oh, I shop here and I use this facility, and it's become a part of the neighborhood, so to speak. It should never have happened. Nonetheless, they're there. And so closing them down, I'm sure they're going to tell you this is a travesty. There are people who shop on Avenue Z who have similar products. Those of us who use that restaurant that facility rather than this one, which was supposed to be a restaurant, and they sort of made it backwards. I don't know how you stop it, how you close it down, but I think that the borough president has some interesting thoughts about changing what they say is a restaurant. It's not. But if you could change that around, perhaps it would have some measure of legality, put quotes around the legality. I think that there's all kinds of talk in the community about changing the parking and changing this and changing that. I don't think it should be done. I think if there's a way to keep this with a special permit that's looked at, and I know the borough president said 10 years. I disagree with that. I think 3 years for somebody who breaks the law all the time has broken the law. Padlocks come off the door when the Department of Buildings puts them on. Stop work orders aren't paid attention to. In my America, and racist America, you pay attention to the law, and this guy hasn't done it. So why are we going to reward him for staying there and doing exactly what he wants? So I think if there's going to be a compromise somewhere, that it ought to be a compromise where maybe he can stay in business, maybe he has to make his restaurants a little bit larger, which would comply with the use. And I think the borough president had the right idea. Difficult to stop something that's been doing something illegally for so long. And you'll hear people say, oh, I use this restaurant and this facility, I need to come here. My thinking is that it shouldn't have ever happened in the first place. And I sort of fault city agencies, not you because you didn't do this, but certainly Department of Buildings. For those of us who are in the leadership of organizations and community civic associations, when we call the Department of Buildings and say, well, someone is doing something illegally, they don't come down and fix it. They don't come down and stop the word or work unless you scream and yell and I'm not sure what else. So in this instance, that's what happened here, as far as I can see. They came, they did this, they built it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ms.
Thank you for the
Ellis.
question.
Ms. Barron, thanks for being here. I'm wondering, from your perspective, what do you believe the primary intent of the special district, of the Sheepshead Bay area was in 1973?
Well, I've been living in Manhattan Beach since 1976. Sheepshead Bay has grown in many kinds of ways. In the city of New York, for those who live in apartment buildings or not on the waterfront as we do, we're very fortunate to have it. I believe that it's a mecca. If you have nothing to do on a weekend, you're going to walk to Manhattan Beach and walk through our neighborhood. Unfortunately, the waterfront's been closed up, which is something you should take care of. But in Sheepshead Bay, not on a day like today, nor on like what we've had recently, but in the spring, in the summer, in the fall, hundreds of people come down to Sheepshead Bay, and it's a place to go. It could be made even better. I don't know why there aren't more shrubs and more flowers and more hanging baskets. You've been to waterfront communities all over the country, for example, and they have that. There's no reason why this can't be made even better than it is. And I think that compromising the use of this building, and nobody said that a restaurant won't come here. I mean, that's the other part of the equation. Nobody has said that City Fish or any other restaurant won't come down and take that space and do well. They do well in other parts of the country. So eliminating this thing where you say, well, they have to stay because they've been there, and I know I'm suggesting something like that, I think you'll hear other speakers tell you that, in fact, there are no reasons why other people can't come and try to make a go of a restaurant.
Having visited the area, especially during the warmer months myself, I understand the Mecca concept. And I'm just wondering, kind of following up on some of the questions that Commissioner Ortiz asked, the kinds of uses that attracted people to areas back in 1973, and here we are in 2015, and the kinds of uses that might attract people to an area in 2015 might be different. I mean, do you believe, from your vantage point, that this use helps attract people to the area?
No. No. No more than anybody would be attracted to go to Waldbaum's. There are specialty stores in Sheepshead Bay itself. There's one on Avenue Z and 19th Street. I think that came up before.
Please.
This is typical of what happened at the community board hearing, excepting it was a whole lot worse than this. So I would excuse these people because I don't laugh when they say what they have to say. I think we all have a right to free speech, by the way. I'm sorry.
Wait 1 second, Ms. Barron. There's
Sorry.
another question from Ms. Ortiz.
Hi, I have a question over here.
Sorry.
How are you?
I'm not sure right now.
I'm wondering, if we take this to its logical conclusion, which would be, the conclusion that you would prefer, which might result in the eviction of a tenant, what do you see happening at this location?
I'm not recommending an eviction of the tenant. I'm making the comment that the tenant, aside from the lawsuits that are up there for non-payment of rent, which hasn't come up before you this morning, this could stay there if they made a restaurant out of it, perhaps, or a larger space. They're telling you that they have an eating facility because that's part of the use. There really isn't. I don't know if you've seen that restaurant. You should come down and take a look at it. But the seating outside is only seasonal. The seating inside, I didn't count the seats, but maybe there are 20. That's not a restaurant. It's a little, I don't know what, but I can buy something in the restaurant and eat it there. But I'm not suggesting that they be evicted. I'm suggesting that if you were to say that they need to be kept there because it would be a terrible hardship on the world if they weren't there, that the use is important, but the use was never a part of the special district. And my concern from where I sit is that what's to stop somebody from coming into my neighborhood, which is a residential neighborhood, an R31, and saying, no, I'm gonna put an IHOP on a piece of property. We have a piece of property where it could go. And then we say, oh, no, you can't put that there because it's not allowed. And somebody says, well, I'm going to come anyway, and I'm going to do it, and the buildings department doesn't stop it. Nobody stops it. And there it is. And they come back to you as a similar situation as this one. And they say, well, now we got a spot zone here. We got to change this. That's my take on it. And some people will tell you I'm an old fuddy-duddy, and I have blonde hair up here. But I think that's part of the situation that you're being placed in. You're being placed in a situation where you have a building where somebody came in there the very first day and said, I'm going to do this, and I don't care about what you say. Everybody said, don't do it. So there have to be some kind of consequences. And if the consequence is that it has to be made smaller, or it has to have a bigger restaurant, or it has to have something, I'm not saying that I would be opposed to it, but I would love to see what the stipulations are. And I don't agree, as I said before, with the borough president saying 10 years. This guy's got a track record. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Ms. Barron? Thank you, Ms. Barron.
Thank you.
Okay, the last speaker in opposition in this round is Ed Jaworski, and then we'll switch back to those in favor. Mr. Jaworski.
Good morning. Thank you for having this continuation. I'm Ed Jaworski, president of the Madison Marine Homecrest Civic Association in southern Brooklyn. I sent a statement to you last week in which I noted 3 legal principles in play here. So I'm going to focus on the legalities as the others have rather than Cherry Hill itself. 1, fraud vitiates everything. It appears that the history of Cherry Hill at this site and this application are tainted and highly suspect. 2, the presence of good faith. Following the questionable history and record of violations and unpaid fines, indeed requesting legalization indicates that good faith is and has been completely absent and may be in the future. 3, this clearly is a case of spot zoning, which of course is illegal since there is no plan to support this proposal. Of course, you realize that to be considered illegal spot zoning, a text amendment must be part of a comprehensive plan. Right now, there is no plan to accommodate this text amendment. The closest thing is the Sheepshead Bay Special District designation. However, if you pass this change, you essentially will say that there is a new plan in town, legalizing what is illegal, that rules don't matter. Such a precedent will put the city in a dangerous thin ice position. Let me explain. According to information I obtained by a freedom of information request to the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings approximately a year and a half ago, in Brooklyn alone, there were nearly 50,000 outstanding DOB violations with some $250 million in unpaid fines. In Community Board 15, at one point, there were some 450 active stop work orders, thousands of violations, and millions in unpaid ECB DOB fines. Cherry Hill site is one of these. In spite of my urging several times, Community Board 15 ignores the abuse epidemic and even violated Robert's rules, as you heard, to pass this application a few weeks ago. Instead of granting this text amendment, I would recommend that city planning, not the people here, city planning now pick up the ball, show initiative by looking into why there's so much construction development abuse in Community Board 15. Is it tied to unique special permit 73622? And in the meantime, consider initiating an immediate suspension of variances, special permits, and certainly reject this text amendment. I think adaptive reuse is wonderful, but please prove that illegalities and violations are not acceptable and that the principle of good faith does matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jaworski. Questions? Thank you very much. Okay, switching back to those in favor. The first 5 speakers, Gokhan Sisek, Kamola, Sam Nitka, Noah Yavetaya, and Frida, I think, Kamura Norayeva, if that's correct. So let's start with Gokin Sisek? Is that, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
Good morning to everybody. I'm the manager of operations, and I'm here to answer any questions. My people, Namik, my partner, he gave information about the operation and how how much really we worked hard to put the place together. We took over the place back in 2007, and it took us about 2 years to build the place, to make it look like what it is today. And we are serving the community for the past 5 years, from 2009 until now, serving the quality product and employing 60 people, and it's about up to 100 during summertime, the high season. And we believe we're serving the community and all the neighborhoods. They are happy that we are there and serving really quality food. And I don't think that many people, they don't want us there. And we are here to answer their questions why they don't want us there. And we will keep serving the community and reaching their expectations. That I heard that they even compared us with the Wild Bombs. What we serve is not even comparable what Wild Bombs serve. We have unique stuff that you may not be able to find in any other Russian neighborhood. And we'll keep serving the quality stuff for our consumers.
Thank you, Mr. Sisek. Questions? I actually just,
Please.
You are the manager, not the owner?
I'm the manager, yeah.
Is the owner here to testify, do you know?
He's not in the country.
Have you been the manager since the opening of this?
Yes, sir.
So to the criticism we've heard that you just opened without a permit, with violating lots of Department of Buildings violations, that you have desecrated this landmark, what do you have to say about that?
Well, when we took over the place back in 2007, we signed a lease with the sub landlord, and we submitted all the plans, and this place, as we decided, a retail and also cafe. So whatever the plans that we submitted in with the sitting area, we kept things the way we submitted in. So nothing really has changed after then. And we were not aware of the fact that we knew that it's going to take some time to address these issues and I mean with the zoning issues and legalize them. That's what we've been trying for the last 4 or 5 years.
Do you have a significant, would you have outstanding building code fines and violations now?
Well, the entire building had existing violations when we even took the place, when we took over the place. And I believe there are some violations, but not because of only Cherry Hill on the building.
So no, other than the use violation, no other violations with respect to the gourmet market itself at the moment?
I believe not.
And this, the claim that not only did you create this use that is not in compliance with the zoning resolution, but that you, in the process of creating this space, damage the existing landmark. What actually did you do that damages the landmark, and has that been restored?
Well, my partner is going to be speaking next, so he has all the pictures from the past, how the building looked like when we took over the place. As I've said, it took us about 2 years to build the place. The place, could I have the pictures? I had the pictures from very past. It's like how it looked like from outside, if I could show, and how it looks like in the bottom side.
Okay, can you submit those to us?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Give it.
I have one. That one's for you.
Mr. Cantor.
The chairman has put to you several of the questions I had. Thank you for leaving me a couple. You said you were there from the beginning.
That's right.
You said you're the manager,
That's right.
but you said you have a partner.
Right.
So therefore you must be
We
something
manage
more
it.
than the manager.
I'm sorry?
So therefore, you're something beyond the manager.
Well, I mean, we partnering managing the store, yeah.
Do you have a financial interest in the store?
Uh,
Do you have an ownership interest in the store?
I don't.
Do you have a financial interest in the store?
No, I don't.
You don't, okay. I'm going to continue to pursue the chair's question.
Please.
You've been there from the beginning.
That's right.
You were there for the build-out.
That's right.
There are very few violations. And how come the violations, if they were very few, how come the violations haven't been responded to? How come the violations haven't been cleared? You're coming to this commission with the whole world against you, so to speak, because you apparently have not been doing your citizens' duty. Why are you not responding to these violations? Why? Okay, it's really simple. Why are you not responding, and why have you not resolved the violation?
My managing partner will address all these questions.
Okay.
He's on the
he
technical
going to
side of the
speak?
job. Yes, he will be next one.
Fine.
Mr. Eady.
Hi. Just wanted to ask you a question regarding the operations of the store. The restaurant portion, how well is that functioning? Do you get a lot of customers? Are you booked at holidays? How is that functioning as it relates to the overall facility?
Well, we got enough traffic because most of the business is in summertime because we have like a huge outside sitting area. So where we get most of our cafe business during summertime. But for the rest of the year, we still get lots of restaurant customers, or we have a nice mezzanine dedicated for restaurant. We have people coming for their celebrations. They come, they make parties, their small parties, and we get good crowd for the restaurant side of the business as well.
I guess one question would be, if you had a larger restaurant and a smaller specialty store, could you function? Could the restaurant be supported by the traffic you get?
I doubt it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Levin?
Yes, Mr. Sisek, I'd like to return a little bit to the line, or one more time to the line of questioning before. You explained that when you started work to...
Back in 2007, right.
Back in 2007, you submitted the plans.
Yes, we did.
To whom did you submit the plans? I wasn't clear whether you were talking about to your landlord or to the Department of Buildings.
Both.
Both.
That's right.
And did you receive permits from the Department of Buildings covering all the work you did?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and did you build according to those?
Absolutely.
permits. So what was the nature of the violations? Our briefing package indicates that there was quite a bit of, there were violations that had been cleared, and the remaining violation is the one that brings you here today, to get a legal use so that you can get a certificate of occupancy. But there must have been a string of other violations before. What was the nature
As I
of
said,
those?
actually, I was here for the operation side of the business, and for the technical part, my
We're gonna wait
managing
for the-
partner
okay.
will answer all the questions.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Efron.
Thank you. I have an operations question. The first speaker today mentioned that there were deliveries. Could you talk about that aspect of your business? I'm trying to understand specialty food use versus grocery store question, and if there's any distinction. And I just wonder about what percentage of the business is deliveries? Is that an incidental part of it, or a daily active part of your business?
No, most of our business is walking customers. Our parking makes the consumers really easy to come and shop from us, because we have a good size of parking where people they can come park and do their shopping. Most of our business is walking customers. We do deliveries, but delivery is not really a big part of our business.
How many delivery people do you have?
How many delivery people?
How many people are employed as delivery people?
We have 2 drivers. They do deliveries if we get catering orders.
Thank you.
Ms. Ortiz.
Hi, good morning. You mentioned the parking, and that's, that's come up in a number of places. You mentioned a lot of your customers are walk-in customers, but how important is parking to the success of this market? Is it integral to being able to
I think
run the store?
parking is important. Parking is important for the customers from the neighborhood who does really a big shopping.
Mm-hmm. So could you see a scenario in which you would want to reduce the parking that's available for the business?
No. We need enough parking for our business.
Thank you.
Ms. Deluz.
So just briefly, you may or may not know this, but do you have a sense of what percentage of your customer base is local and what percentage of your customer base comes from outside of the community? I'm trying to get a sense of whether or not it's a destination.
I would say maybe close to 80 to 85% of our customers are local, within mile or mile and a half radius.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Cisak? Thank you very much, Mr. Cisak. Is it Mr. Kamola? Please. Mr. Kamola? No, is it Ms. Kamola? Mr. You can't. Sam Nitka?
Good morning, everyone, or good early afternoon. I came here prepared with a long speech for everyone here, but I'm a little bit lost because I'm a little bit in shock right now. I hear words emanating here: desecration, certain people, crusade, travesty, my America. I don't know if I'm before an immigration meeting or before a city planning commission meeting, and it's no one's fault. I'm just caught off guard, as they say. I'd like to give you a little bit of background, and then I'll try to answer everyone's question to the best of my ability. If I don't have the answer for you, then I'll just defer to counsel. I, like many, was born here, Brighton Beach. I grew up working in a candy store called the 40 Thieves, where I learned to make egg creams at the age of 12. I learned to make knishes at Mr. Stoll's in Brighton Beach. And then I got a job at the age of 13 in Shatskin's Knishes on Sheepshead Bay. They owned retail stores in Kings Plaza and other shopping areas. I went to Lincoln High School. And everyday person playing ball in Manhattan Beach, playing ball in Coney Island. But I remember Brighton Beach, I remember Coney Island, I remember where you could walk and where you couldn't walk, and that goes for everyone. And then I remember Sheepshead Bay. I was taken to Lundy's as a small kid, to the restaurant. My parents took me there. They said, come, we'll go eat fish. We went to eat fish. Lundy's looked like this. This was Lundy's on top. It sat like that for 20 years. It sat like this for 20 years. It was rife with crime, drug dealing, crack vials, needles. You couldn't walk on the block because you may get held up or may get mugged. Finally, the police found a way to get them out of the neighborhood. So where did they go? They crossed the bridge into Manhattan Beach. I grew up in Brighton Beach. We moved to Corbin Place, which was the dividing line between Brighton Beach and Manhattan Beach. We were simple people. So these people, these drug dealers, these drug users, they crossed the bridge from Sheepshead Bay to Manhattan Beach, to the ballpark where we were playing ball. Finally, the police got there and they pushed them into Brighton Beach. From Brighton Beach, they pushed them into Coney Island. But Lundy's continued to look like this. Now, I didn't come here to insult anyone. I was brought up differently. My parents brought me up in a way that we were taught to respect our elders, take care of our grandparents, live by the law of the land, and to give charity. It's written, King David in his writings wrote, giving charity gives life. This is how we were brought up. David Isayev is a friend of mine. I work with him. I know him since he came to America. He had a van, drove to Boston to buy produce. He came to America with $200 in his pocket. Where did he come from?
Thank you very much, Mr. Nichol. Questions?
Go ahead.
Where did he come from?
Mr. Cantor.
You know,
You're very eloquent. I think up to this point, I haven't really heard any speaker for or against arguing about the value or the merit of the store. I think the discussion has focused on the process. And are you the partner of the gentleman from before?
yes, I am. Mr. Cantor, I'd like to explain the word partner because some people from the old country, when they mean partner, we work together.
Okay.
That's what we mean by partners. We have no financial interest in the business.
Thank you.
We don't own any percentages of the store.
Thank you for that.
So
Could you
to clear that issue.
Thank you. Could you respond again to the question I posed with respect to the violations and the apparent deliberate, well, I shouldn't use the word deliberate, the apparent noncompliance in many ways with the requirements of the law?
So let's get the record straight because I keep hearing accusations here from Ms. Barron, from the great Steve Barrison, who I have a lot of respect for because he's done a great job, and I respect what he's done over the years. But let's get some of the facts straight. We're a tenant. That's number one. Number two, regarding the nonconforming use. The law firm that represents the above landlord has a problem issuing a letter, and we believe we'll finally get it for him. That letter is his ace in the hole in finding a way to remove our landlord, Lundy's. Why? He's got a problem with Lundy's. Lundy's did not maintain the building. They lost their C of O. They lost their TCO years ago by filing the documents late. Now, going to the violations. Cherry Hill has no issues in Landmark. We have no outstanding dollar violations. We are not in bankruptcy. Anything else?
Do you have outstanding violations?
Non-conforming use.
That's the only violation?
That's what we're aware of.
The non-conforming?
Correct. You have to remember something. Lundy's is not one building. It's two buildings stuck together. Originally, Lundy's was built on stilts in the bay. They then moved to their current location, where they also maintained a hotel. That hotel burned down in 1950. Lundy's stood vacant and dormant for over 20 years. We'll give or take a little bit. Whoever came in to operate it afterwards was in business for 2 years. They couldn't pay the rent. They didn't have the foot traffic. They didn't have the driver traffic. They didn't have the right food to serve the current customer living in the neighborhood. Came a new tenant. He was serving pizza in a fish restaurant. He couldn't sell pizza. He went out of business after 18 months or 24 months. Steve will tell you better.
Do you not have the ability to conform?
We're doing our best via the good graces of Richard Lobel and his office to meet with the City Planning Commission. We've gone before the Community Board, we've gone before the Borough President, and we're working, and with your help, to get us the conforming use.
No, you're asking us to effectively agree to what you're doing and.
We're asking-
conforming. My question is.
Yeah.
Why can you not conform now? Why-
We are, is my belief that we operate a full-time restaurant cafe 12 months during the year inside. Number two, we don't have 20 seats, as Ms. Barron stated. We've got 45 seats inside. Secondly, during the warm weather season, if we were in Florida, we'd be busy all year round with the additional cafe outside. But we don't have that weather.
I'll try to make my question clearer. A conforming facility, from what I've heard here today, would have a restaurant, and it would also have a store. And the representations here, Richard, you're cheating.
I apologize.
That's okay. And the representations here today is it's backwards. Now, with all of this Sturm und Drang and everything that's been going on, I'll ask you again, could you not conform? Why could you not conform? And why aren't you conforming?
Well, to answer your question, and I probably would like to leave that response to you, to give you the right language. I'd leave that up to Richard Lobel, because you're looking for the right language, as I am not a professional zoning attorney, and I would prefer that he give you that response.
I think the question, Mr. Nitka,
Maybe I'm misunderstanding the question.
Mr. Nitka, I think if I understand the question, just to clarify it, which is a question to you and not your attorney, is could you operate this facility with a majority of the space being used as a restaurant and a minority of the space being used as a retail store?
Okay, now I understand your question.
Gee, I'm glad I got cleared up. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I appreciate your help with that, Mr. Cantor. If the majority of the retail establishment had to be a restaurant, we prefer to close our doors. We will need to close our doors, and I'll tell you why. Very simple. You've got a half a dozen restaurants down the block. Most of the time, they're closed. They're not open even on the weekends in this cold weather. Number two, Sheepshead Bay Road, you've got 4 Asian restaurants. You've got 3 pizza shops. You've got 5 leases coming due that will not be re-signed by the tenants. You've got 2 vacant stores. You've got 4 buildings today with vacant office space. So we could not operate as a restaurant and make money if we had to be a majority of a restaurant. Black and white.
Thank you. I turn it back over to Mr. Cantor now.
I'm afraid to talk. Thank you, Mr. Chair. No further questions.
Ms. Efron.
Hi, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. I think it's still morning. There was a testimony that alleged that you were in arrears on your rent. And,
Correct.
Do you?
Not alleged testimony, testimonies.
Okay. Is this true?
No. And we've got Mr. Pick from Pickens Zabicki that could gladly respond to that. Next, anything else? I wish I could be given more time to get done with my speech. I worked all night on it.
Mr. Nitka, there has been testimony that when you started renovating, you did so in a manner that was, shall we say, I'll take back the word desecrated, but not in compliance with the landmarks law and changed features without the approval of landmarks. Is that true?
I apologize. Could you repeat the question again?
Yes. There's been testimony that when you started renovating your store, you did so in a manner that was not in compliance with the landmarks law and therefore changed the physical nature of the facility to an extent that was not in compliance with the designated landmark. Is that true?
Well, I'd like to then just take one step back. David Asayev.
Who's they?
David Asayev is the principal owner of Cherry Hill. If you met him, he barely speaks, his English is barely passable. However, the law firm that represented him upon the signing of the lease, he found the store, he found the location. The law firm that represented him upon the signing of the lease, unfortunately, did a lousy job explaining to him what he was getting himself into. Now, it's easy for me to blame it on the law firm. However, any person that has a basic understanding of English, if you read the lease and the paperwork, you wouldn't understand it. Now, there were issues of this property being landmarked that were accused that he took this off and he took this off. It was the building's owner, our above landlord, that went and removed landmark pieces or property from the facility.
And you, as the sublessee, did none of that, is that?
No, we did not do that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Nitka? Thank you very much, Mr. Nitka.
Thank you.
We will take one more speaker in favor and then switch back to those opposed. So, Nova Yevataya? What?
He spoke already.
Spoke, okay. And Frida Kama-Nurayeva, am I getting close? Not so close, it sounds like.
Frida was right.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Frida. I come America. I am an immigrant from 2006. I have a very big family, very big relationship. It is everybody go to the store. I live in neighborhood for the store. I have hard work. I come very night. I don't have time. It goes another store. It is store have traditional food. I don't have for prepared food. Everybody, my family live is New Jersey, Staten Island, Bensonhurst, Ocean Parkway. Everybody like the store. This very fresh food, very clearly it is. I am customer for the store. My family like the store. Everybody comes to the store, and I have traditional food for everybody. I have Russian friend. Sorry for my bad English. Yes, I listen to you.
Thank you very much. Are there questions? I do have one question. There's been some testimony that there are other stores in the area that basically provide the same food that is available here. If this store wasn't here, where would you shop?
This is very comfortable, very clearly, very good. How many is have work employer? This is very polite, very good. I understand yours. Yours understand me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, switching back to those in opposition, the next speakers will be, I think, Hansa Osbe, Earl Barrison, Jack Spadaro, and Stephen Barrison. So first, is it Kenan or Kenan Osbe? Kenan. And is it Osbe or Osbe? Is that? Osbe. Osbe, okay.
It's a difficult, but you did very good.
More in the handwriting than on the pronunciation, but go
Okay.
ahead.
What I say, good afternoon or good morning, both. My name is Kenan Osbe, and I'm owner for Sheepshead Bay Fruit and Vegetable Market, located on 1717 Avenue Z, Brooklyn, New York. And I would like to pass some documents before to...
Yeah, give it to the...
if you can. Yeah, pass everyone.
Go ahead, Mr. Osby.
Thank you. I came to United States in 1980, and since 1980, I'm in the same area, Shipset Bay and Coney Island Avenue. I know everywhere. And my business is established in 1995. Since then, we have given opportunities to diverse people working in our business. Our past 20 years, our business has grown and changed. At the times, in direct community, we serve in Shipset Bay area since 1995. Our first store had been located in 26th Street, 2601 East 16th Street in Brooklyn on Avenue Z, which is 3-4 blocks away from the Cherry Hill. And for 10 years, I had a market, food market, specialty food, international, all groceries, vegetable. I'm one of the best in the place, in the area. I mean it. With the fruit, vegetable, and everything. You can welcome. And then after our contract ended, 10 years later, which is 2005, before the Cherry Hill opened, the landlord tripled the rent, and we got a notification to leave the place in 3 months. Me and my partner, we worked so hard to build a business. Of course, we had no time to look another location. After all, those years in the business, the situation has harmed our business. We had to come out. Our leases expired. Then what we did, we have to look closer place to open another business. We are searching for a new location around Shipset Bay area, everywhere. Of course, the best place in the Shipset Bay area is by the water. You go close to water, is everything there. But everything but supermarket because of zoning. So, however, we learned that special waterfront zoning doesn't allow us to opening a supermarket or specialty food market or any kind of vegetable market in the area. We went to departmental building with my partner. We got to our lawyers. We did all search. And of course, we went to people who cares about the Shipset Bay, how it's look, how the crowd it will be. And we understand the law is more important in the United States, and everybody has to obey the law. So we and my partner, we said, we're not gonna go against the law. If the building department doesn't give us permit to start the business, we cannot open supermarket there. We could have sneaked around, like which is Cherry Hill did. We could have shown 20-seat, little part of the market as serving the customer food as a restaurant. Of course, we gotta get away with this, but we didn't do that. I'm sorry. I will go quicker.
No,
yes.
One more sentence,
I'm
and then
sorry.
we'll answer questions.
Yes.
Go ahead. One more sentence.
Yes. And we found a place in a business, Shipset Bay, 1995, Shipset Bay Corporation. We are serving our customer with high-quality foods. Our store is in one of the excellent places. The Shipset Bay area by the water has restaurants, cafeteria, coffees, and serves the whole community and tourists. Beautiful
Mr. Osme,
waterfront
that's
wall.
3 sentences. So.
All right. Now.
No, please, you have to stop. We have your testimony.
Yes.
So questions for Mr. Osbe?
I will. Can I say only one more thing? Just one. I'm sorry. With the
One
respectful.
sentence. Say it in one
One
sentence.
sentence. Only one sentence. What is this about a beautiful store? Yes, we respect that. Store is beautiful as ours, mine, but it's all about the zoning and the law. Can I break the law? Can I break the law and open anything I want? Can you pass, Mr. Chairman, Carl? Can you pass the red light? Can you pass the red light and say, yes, I passed the red light, but I'm not paying the fine because I have a good, beautiful car?
Mr. Osbe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Osbe? Mr. Cantor.
Yes, sir.
The relationship of the food market area to the restaurant area as originally presented to have a much smaller component of food market. Did you lose business over the years, in your judgment, because they have made their food market larger?
Some, yes, sir.
Did you guesstimate?
About 30%, 40%, almost as damaging. and then I bring the customer back, and they like to better service, so I try to bring it back, but still is.
Find that the size of the store has made a difference relative to your business?
Yes. The market size, yes.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Ms. Ortiz?
Hi.
Larissa, hi.
You mentioned that you looked at another location within the special district, and you were informed that there was no allowance for a grocery store.
Yes.
You know, thinking about the rest of the district, do you think a grocery store use or specialty food store use is appropriate for the special district if we were to, you know?
Yes, zoning doesn't allow to open by the storefront is all good, very good for everyone, cafeteria, restaurant, food, any kind of people coming weekend, during the week, afternoon, summertime, and hundreds of people coming over there for food, for restaurant. If you open supermarket, I bet is if you go and see it, in 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, there is a truck delivering supermarket items, non-stop, big crowded, and weekend cars, and no more that pleasant people can walk by the water, no more pleasant can sit and eat by the water, impossible, because supermarket bringing so much traffic in the area, and if you allow to changing zone, why not? Zone it will be allowed me to open second store, or other competitive will come. Other restaurants in the next, we'll see 5 to 10 years.
So-
will be 5 restaurants in the area. Sorry.
Just to clarify, you know, the issue for you is process.
Yes.
That, you know, there were rules in place, you followed those rules, you feel as if Cherry Hill did not, but that, you know, you would like to see, or you think that this use is appropriate for the special district, but it needs to be applied to all potential operators
Of course, all
equally.
zoning for everybody. The law is for everybody, not for one person can break the law. It's for all of us. So that's why we change our mind, and I'm 5 blocks away,
But
not too
this
far.
isn't in your mind, this is an appropriate use for that area?
Yes, of
Okay,
course. It's
thank you.
improper to use that area as a supermarket. Very, very dangerous for especially crowded traffic. How much it's gonna build. You know, if you go to supermarkets, ShopRite, Stop and Shop, especially weekend, you see how much customer and traffic, cars, and the truck is delivery from Pepsi to food to meat is non-stop area and a no more pleasant water walk over there anymore. It will be history. It will be open China supermarket and a Turkish supermarket. Other supermarket will be so crowded because the law will allow to open other supermarkets in the area.
Thank you.
Zoning.
Thank you. Ms. Efron?
A very brief question.
Yes.
What size is your store?
My store is almost same size, maybe 24,000 square feet, and I have a 9,000 square feet parking lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Osby? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is Earl Barrison.
He said 24,000, same size. I thought it was like a 2,000 square foot store. You have to go over there. It's huge.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Barrison.
I have a written stuff to hand in, if I may.
Sure. Give it, Ms. Marani, right behind you.
It's not a mom and pop operation.
No, it's in there, thank you. It's about 10 mom and pops. A lot of what I plan to say has already been said, and I'll try not to repeat it. But I have lived in Sheepshead Bay for over 62 years, so I have a little bit knowledge of what it was when I came in, how it's changed, which hasn't been that much, and what it is now. I commute to my law office every day from my house. I'm also a member of the Bay Improvement Group. And the Bay Improvement Group is a not-for-profit coalition and member, and a coalition for the preservation, planning, and revitalization of Sheepshead Bay. Every single officer, director, and member of Bay Improvement Group, and I think you should remember this, does so without any compensation whatsoever. This should be contrasted with some of the testimony here by people who are financially interested in the outcome. Bay Improvement Group is not. I think that the Borough President and Community Board 15 are dead wrong in their rubber stamping of Cherry Hill's request to convert their illegal, blatantly illegal Cherry Hill market into a blessing for Sheepshead Bay. It's funny. No one so far from the applicant has denied or disputed the fact that this applicant was illegal from the beginning. They built without any permission. They built in violation of the law. They violated numerous stop work orders. All of this is without dispute. Yet the borough president and our community board seem to be overly unscrupulous about enforcing the law. Since when in this country, and this has been said before, but I think it bears repeating, since when in this country do we as Americans reward someone who has not only broken the law, but as in this case offers no excuse for having done so, and just as importantly, offers no reason for granting it amnesty for being a lawbreaker? The fact that the store is pretty, the fact that it sells, or at least used to sell, good food, the fact that it sells, they employ 20 or 30 people are all irrelevant compared to the fact that this thing was illegal from the very beginning. If the applicant is correct, then let's throw out the zoning laws. In fact, let's throw out all our laws. Nobody has to obey anything. All you have to do is break the law and hope that nobody will enforce it. There's no penalty to the applicant for having done what it did. Instead, it wants to be rewarded by converting an illegal use into a blessing. It doesn't work that way. Is this the type of example that we want to set for the future? You, the City Planning Commission, are the guardians of a character of the city. We depend upon you to enforce what's right and to reject what's wrong. This is what's wrong and what's morally sick about about Cherry Hill. It says, who cares about the special district? We don't need it. We decide it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrison. Questions to Mr. Barrison? I actually do have a question for you, Mr. Barrison. There's been some testimony, and the record is still, I think, a little bit murky on this, but there's been some testimony that when Cherry Hill first went in here, they did get a permit from the Department of Buildings, albeit mistakenly issued, given the zoning use. I think, in the record, as I said, I think is a little unclear about that, but there's been some testimony.
Mr. Weisbrod, there is a handout.
Can I just ask my question? Would that change if, in fact, assume my hypothetical for a minute, that they did go in pursuant to a permit, albeit a permit that was improperly issued, would that change your view?
No, and I'll tell you why. Why are they here now? If they did it right from the beginning, if they say in all their papers they want to legalize an existing use, that means that the use that they've been using up to now is illegal. That's logical.
I think that's, everyone recognizes
Good.
that. My question to you is, if they initially went in on the assumption that it was legal because they did get a permit from the buildings department that was improperly issued, and they're here to legalize the situation, it's a little different, I think, than if they went in blatantly and didn't go in pursuant to a permit.
I think they're doing it the wrong way, sir. I think they should have applied for a variance, which we would have opposed, but at least there would be public hearings on it before the BSA. We would have opposed it like we did 20 years ago with Lomans. Lomans, as much as we opposed Lomans, at least they applied for a variance before they started. They recognized that it would be illegal, and morally corrupt to go ahead and just open.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions to Mr. Barrison? Thank you, Mr. Barrison.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Jack Spadaro. Jack Spadaro? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Mrs. Bedard.
My name is Jack Spadaro. I am the Vice President of the Bay Improvement Group. My family and I have lived here for many, many years, in fact, generations. I speak on behalf of our members. We are the largest community coalition of residents and businesses in the Sheepshead Bay area, and we opposed to the zoning text change in the Sheepshead Bay Waterfront Special Use District. If this zoning text change is granted, it will set, as we've heard before, which is probably the most important, a legal precedent across our entire city for anyone in a special or historic district to conduct any business regardless of the impact to their community. These laws were enacted for the purpose of protecting and preserving our historic and unique special use districts for generations to come. The lack of respect for the law hurts all of our long-term property values. The applicant, prior to signing his lease, along with the subleasee, knew of this illegal use of the space. The applicant received many stop work orders, no less than 46 according to his own material, passed out at the community board, and numerous violations as we've heard from DOB, which continued today. The blatant disregard of our laws by ripping down these stop work orders and ignoring the zoning should not be rewarded now, after the fact, by making an illegal use legal. This is a direct smack in the face to many other law-abiding similar businesses that we've heard from in our area and community, as well as all of us. In conclusion, if this zoning text change, as proposed, is further altered in any way, it must be treated as a new application and a new process to be publicly reviewed by our local and civic community groups in full transparency. The application at best should have been before they opened for business. One, for a variance, not a backdoor zoning change to reward an illegal use. For the following, the will of the people and the long-term intent of our special district laws is paramount and requires that this text change be denied. The almost 200,000 people in our area deserve better than the voice of those directly of interest here, or some misleading petitions on the emotional like that it's a nice-looking store. That is not the issue. We can easily get many multiples of that supporting our rejection of this unfair application and ignoring our laws. All businesses and people must follow the same laws. There can be no exceptions for the one elite store. If this were a dollar store, which will help many more in need, would this even be a thought here?
You can finish up.
Not in the least. Do the right thing for our long-term planning future here. The special use district, which you created, is working, and it's intended to work not for 20 or 30 or 40 years, but for 100 or 200 years along the waterfront of our beautiful Sheepshead Bay. This will serve our waterfront for generations to come if you just follow its good intent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spadaro. Questions? Ms. Delauze.
Mr. Spadaro, thanks for being here. Considering that the Bay Improvement Group represents such a broad coalition of folks, I just want to make sure I understand. So you believe that the zoning that was put in place more than 40 years ago still serves the area in the way that it was written?
That is correct. It's meant to serve for 200 years, not for 20 or 30 years, and not for an immigration change. If we look back in our own history of Sheepshead Bay, we have many immigrants, including my own, Italian Americans that came in. And now we do have other Eastern Bloc residents here. In another 10 or 20 years, it's going to change again. The one constant here in Sheepshead Bay is the waterfront, our harbor, very unique. Unless we all decide to concrete Sheepshead Bay Harbor in and make it a walkway, this unique harbor should be left untouched, and the zoning should ensure that it will be kept for a long time.
Thank you.
Any other questions from Ms. Lemon?
Just following up on my colleague's question, I have a hard time, I mean, I certainly understand your argument, but I also have in my mind the information that we've been given about the troubled history of this location for a restaurant since Lundy's, the big Lundy's closed. Tenants have been unsuccessful there, and the photographs we've been shown of the condition of the building before Cherry Hill Gourmet came in. So how do you square that sort of difficult business history with your statement that the zoning is working fine?
Okay, zoning is working fine. Again, this is meant for long-term, not short-term gain by one store. To answer the Lundy's building in the history, it was closed for less than 20 years, I believe 18 years. It was 16 years, excuse me. At that time, we did get a great restaurateur come in. They conducted the business from 1995 to about, I think, 2002. The reason why they went out was not because of the poor restaurant service they had, but it was something called 9/11. They had other restaurants around the city, and the American Park Cafe, if you remember, was right down in Ground Zero, and they had a personal signed lease, and they lost all property. The next two operators that did come in over that period of time, they were poor operators. But that's not to say that a new restaurant, an anchor, such as a legal food store or a Big Fish, which has interest in coming into the area, would be a viable business and restaurant and fit into the zoning and character of our maritime area.
Wait, did you just refer to a legal food store?
Legal meaning the name of the store is called Legal Foods.
Legal
Seafood.
So a restaurant.
Not legal as in law,
Okay.
right.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Spadaro? Thank you very much. The next speaker is Stephen Barrison.
Okay, my name is Steve Barrison. I seem to have become a lightning rod here today. I can answer almost every question that was asked that I noticed was not answered. I will tell you, as president of Bay Improvement Group, you heard we're the largest group. I'm also here on behalf of the Preserve Our Waterfront organization. Most of you don't know me. I've been active since 1983. I've spent countless hours with the Sheepshead Bay District and community main streets and local main streets. I served for 5 years on the Landmarks Commission as a volunteer. I was mentored by the great vice chair of this commission, Marty Gallant, Ron Schiffman, and Erwin Fruchtman, former city buildings commissioner. And I also worked on Mayor Dinkins' New York City Comprehensive Waterfront Plan. So I've lived with waterfront and zoning and planning in the entire city for my entire life as an attorney over 30 years. Almost everything that I was going to say has been said. What I can add to is a couple of facts to throw in. First of all, the chutzpah here by Cherry Hill blows me away. So if you don't see it, I don't have to repeat it further. But if you can't support the best interests of the community and uphold the laws, which we fought long and hard to outlast immigration economic cycles to be a few hundred years long, this is a waterfront special use district, different than other special districts because of the water, as Jack said. And what is the long-term special use waterfront planning all about? Why do we do it? Why did you do it? In 20 years or less, Sheepshead Bay will not be Russian anymore. I'm a Russian American too. Just walk around the neighborhood. We have Indians and Pakistanis moving in great numbers. The Turkish school that was built just recently is now expanding with a tens of millions of dollar expansion. The neighborhood evolves. The one thing every person says is the water is great. The conflicts of interest, everyone here, they like the rest, they like Cherry Hill. Hey, it's a nice place. What if it was the nicest gourmet market in the world? That doesn't necessarily change the long-term use and vision. So, as far as the evictions and what their lawyer said, there's all kinds of stuff being said. I find it interesting as an attorney because the owner of the building is on our board of directors since 1992. I've spoken to him many times. What Mr. Pick did was, in answer to somebody's question, I think it was Commissioner Weisbrod, was he said he's not taking a position because of his court position. They said that they must have run to him and said that I said that they are opposed to Cherry Hill. It's not what they said. They told me they're not taking a position, obviously, because they're in court. However, they want it both ways, which is understandable if you own the building. They can't take a position. On the other hand, if Cherry Hill goes out, they told us full force they'll support us with a restaurant. So they wanted both sides, and that sounds logical, and if you don't believe it, we can get you more information on that. Finally, the entire application, the zoning text, I can spend 20 minutes on the facts. Jack addressed some of it. There are many restaurants that want to come in. Even the chairperson of the community board, who flip-flopped suddenly supporting Cherry Hill, had national chains. I do restaurants for a living. I've been doing it mom-and-pop stores and restaurants for over 30 years. I spoke to the chairman of Legal Seafoods. I spoke to Big Fish down in the Carolinas. Right down the street in Sheepshead Bay, Lehman Restaurant came in to shake hands on a deal. He was told, sure, but you can't use the parking lot. And there's many more. So I'll sum up since the bell went off. I was trying to answer your questions at the same time.
2 more sentences, Mr. Barrison.
Okay. You heard it must not reward the outrageous use. So I will just say, please reject this, or wait and let the legal system in court work its way through first. No one, not the circus of the community board, the borough president, or the council member, for that matter, in the area, and all of the respected established organizations in the area, we all agree that this zoning text change as presented must be rejected. And as far as planning, I can answer Ortiz's question and several of others if you have them.
Thank you very much. Questions, Mr. Barrison? Thank you, Mr. Barrison. We will switch back to those in favor. Rachel Tagian? Tagian? How do you pronounce that? I just can't read. Tagian.
I'm the owner of a media agency and the organizer of a very large community festival that is held in April this year. And Cherry Hill is a very big participant in the community, I would say. As far as the building, as I remember, I came to this country, I was 12. This building was abandoned. It was green, broken glass. When Cherry Hill came into the neighborhood, they fixed it up. People actually come from Jersey to shop at the Cherry Hill. And as far as I know, they spend their money in our state, which pay taxes to all of us. Salaries that are being paid for over 60 people, I believe, in the store. And that feeds the families of the community as well. As far as the other businesses that are complaining that they tried to get into this building and they couldn't, why would they want to get in if it's illegal, as they claim? Why would, as far as the getting another location and losing 30% of the business, I mean, I would say as a media agency, maybe they should fix something and do something about their business, not to lose their business to other competitors. There is 1 million restaurants in the area, and another restaurant would not do any good to anyone. It would be just another restaurant. The supermarket brings basically clean, healthy food to our houses. I also have 3 children, and I work a lot, and the store is open till 12 o'clock at night. And I would say Brighton Beach is closer to my house, and I prefer Cherry Hill. I can park. I don't have to lose time. I come home late. I want to spend more time with my kids, and for me to come there and shop really fast, park my car, get my food, and go back to my home is important to me. As far as I drive a lot in the area, I don't see any trucks because they're always in the back where I park my car. So I wouldn't say that the trucks cover the area of the waterfront. That's basically it. I think it's an asset to our community. And I don't think there should be any reason why the store should not be there. Because I would say my kids would shop there. Simple.
Thank you, Ms. Tagian. Questions? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Gokun Sisek has already spoken. The next speaker is Anthony Kelly.
Hello, everybody. I was basically the project manager on Cherry Hill 7, 8 years ago when we started this project. Everything was submitted, everything was approved, everything was done. Listening to Steve talk about restaurants, I'm doing it 30 years also. They do their demographics. If a big chain restaurant wanted to come in here, they would have taken this location already. Bonefish, Carrabba's, whoever it may be, they do their demographics. Did I interrupt you? Did I interrupt you?
Please.
Okay.
Mr. Barrison, please.
So when we did this store, all the violations we had, a lot of them were because of your Senator Kruger. I fought with him tooth and nail. He showed up at the job site. And where is he today? Because we didn't play ball with him? Is that what happened? No, I don't think so. He's a legitimate businessman, runs a good business. That building you're looking at, he basically did that. Not Landmark. He changed it. He renovated it. He put everything back the way it was. Not your community. What did your community do? 16 years it stayed emptied. Graffiti on the walls, falling down. And who else has been in there? Nobody. Cherry Hill Market paid to have all that done, from the exterior to the interior. Quite a lot of money. Me, I would have walked away from it. I just don't understand what's going on here. You have a cafe, you have a restaurant, you sit there and say 20,000 square feet. Well, 8,000 square feet is the kitchen for people to come in and get prepared foods to take home with them, just like a restaurant. You go in there and you pick up the takeout to go. You have a cafe, you have outside. You have a landlord and a sub-landlord. You have two lawyers telling different stories. Nobody knows what's what. But you're going to take a viable business, have everybody lose their jobs, put it in a restaurant. If you don't get a major chain in there, it will never survive. It'll be empty again. This is what I do for a living. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Questions? Mr. Kelly, please come back.
Sure.
Mr. Cantor.
Sir, you're pointing to the picture on the left
Correct.
as saying it was reconstructed to look like that. How did the building look before, not after it was abandoned for 18 years or whatever? What was the building that Landmarks was comparing this to? And if it's not the same building that Landmarks approved, then what are you showing us?
Everything, what is different? All the awnings
I
are the
don't
same.
know.
Everything is different. So
You
if you
showed
don't
us
know,
a-
I can't tell you. I came into this as we were building it.
Well, we've received a before and after.
Right.
The before is apparently a rear view, while the after is a front view, so that's
Okay.
meaningless.
I'm sure there's pictures on the internet that you can look at from before and after.
Well, the presentation is,
Your building was dilapidated. It was falling down.
yes.
It was
Yes.
graffiti. The
Let's
parking
accept
lot was
that.
terrible.
Let's accept
And so
that.
now, because a business comes in, spends millions of dollars on things that he shouldn't even have done, he's the leasee. He doesn't own the property. This is not his property, but he spent the money to do the renovation. Community didn't. He did.
Any,
You really
any,
haven't answered my question, you realize that?
Your question is, I don't know what the building looked like prior to that.
Mr. Kelly, I have a question. You were the project manager in this, and you said that this space was renovated with appropriate permits.
That is correct.
But yet, clearly, those permits were at best improperly granted, since there is an issue with the zoning. When were you still the project manager when the job received its first violations?
Yes.
And what did you do then?
We resolved it to the best of our ability. Unfortunately, we only do so much because we had Senator Kruger against us.
Well,
Commissioner, I understand what you're saying.
I mean, did you got stop work orders?
We got stop work orders, and
Did
we
you
stopped
stop work?
and we stopped work. And then we went down the next day, and then we went down the next day, had them lifted.
And then
all your blueprints are sealed and approved. Everything done in there is approved by your city.
And then, so just so I understand, the stop work orders were then lifted and you resumed work?
That is correct, absolutely. We cannot work with a stop work order. So I don't know who said we cut the locks off, but, so many things are just blown out of proportion and untrue.
Mr. Cirillo.
Just a question, in light of that, because this has come up a few times about the issuance of a permit by buildings. What is it that buildings approve? Did the plans show, because I think this is also just in light, in the context of this, did the plans that were submitted to buildings and approved show a restaurant, or did it show a store and a restaurant.
It showed everything that you see at Cherry Hill today. We sat down with the commissioner. It showed everything on that plans is in that store. It showed 45 seats upstairs. It showed the market downstairs. It also showed the kitchen, which encompasses a large part of Cherry Hill. So if you want to call it a supermarket or a market, you know, you have an 8,000 square kitchen that caters pre-cooked foods for people to come in and take home with them. So it's not like your typical supermarket, almost like a hybrid.
No, I
as you
understand
put it.
that. I'm just only asking because there's been the issue of buildings approved, but what they actually approved versus what was built, you know, there's a
Everything that's
gap
on
in there
that
without
plan, you can take a look
information.
at them plans, everything on that plan was built exactly the way it was approved.
And it
by your
exists.
commissioner.
And it and
Yeah.
the way it exists.
And unfortunately, you know, and I got no qualm saying this, I was at battle with the senator constantly, that he would come down there, he would call the buildings department, constantly.
Mr. Dweck?
Thank you.
And then Mr. Cantor.
If you can just clarify for us what the nature of the stop work orders were they related? I got,
Community, people in the community calling, people being influenced by other people.
no, I can appreciate that, but my question to you is what was the substance on the?
Some of the stop work orders were due to Lundy's, the building, not per se, all these stop work orders were due to Cherry Hill. There was fire alarm issues, there was codes. If you go through that list, you'll see that some of them were the building itself. And to this day, most of them are the building itself, not Cherry Hill Market.
Mr. Cantor.
So if everything was complied with and all the stop orders were taken care of, and the building was occupied exactly as called for on the plans, why are we here?
Why are we here? Because apparently there's people in the community that don't want it there. You're asking me a question, I'm answering to the best of my knowledge.
Yes.
There's people there that don't want it there. There's people there that think it should be a restaurant, that have no idea what it would cost to operate a restaurant in that size of a building.
Well, to begin with, the issue is not how much it'll cost to operate. The question is, should it have been allowed to operate? And my question coming back to you is, why has the building department taken exception to this thing which has been brought to us today?
Let me ask you, okay, why are we here today if it was approved? If the building department's approved it, we built it to plan, why are we here today?
Well, can I just, I mean, I think Mr. Cantor was asking a rhetorical question because you're here because there is a universal recognition that as it is currently operated, is not legal. So that's why you're here, to legalize, I assume.
Thank you again.
Okay.
Mr. Dweck.
Just to follow up, was the certificate of occupancy ever issued and then revoked? Or
No.
There was never a CFO issued at all?
No. Apparently, there's not one dating back to 1934 when it was first opened, or whatever the date may be, I don't know. I don't go that far into detail with the building. I did a job I was paid to do. I have no vested interest in here. I'm wasting a day off being here.
Ms. Efron.
Thank you. Quick question. You said you were the project manager. Could you just be more specific about who you work for and whether you were
At
employed
that
by them?
particular time, I worked for Gilmark Distributors. I helped lay it out, and helped build it. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, so forth.
Thanks.
Submitted the plans, everything was done accordingly the way it should have been done.
Okay. Any other questions? Ms. Levin.
When you finished your work, was there a temporary certificate of occupancy? How did the restaurant, how did you tie everything up with DOB?
I built 1,000 restaurants since then. I just know, I remember this one in particular because of the senator.
Because it
That's
sounds
why.
like you would, right. Okay, but when you got to the end of your project, had you done all, you thought you'd gotten all the permits and the filings and everything that you needed to do to let
At
your
that point,
client?
yeah, because the restaurant was built, it was done, it was in operation. After that, I leave. And like I said, in between, I've done so much more, but the history of this building, what amazes me is that I'm here in front of you today, looking at a building that looks nothing like it did when David started this job. And your community, which I respect, they should be thankful it's here. It draws business, it draws people. That line of restaurants you have down on Sheepshead Bay, your waterfront, how many times have they changed hands? How many of them are closing down? 80% of all restaurants fail.
Any other questions, Mr. Keller? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Ilyas Abramov?
How are you, Commission? My name is Ilyas Abramov. I work with Cherry Hill for a long time now, and I was the restaurant manager. So if you have any questions about the restaurant, you could ask me. And it's a very busy restaurant. It has great seating, 45 indoors, and outdoors is seasonal. And it's about 110 to 120 seating outdoors. And we outcompete every other restaurant there. The store was what draws people in to go to the restaurant because they see, they're wowed by the store itself, and they want to go sit down and they want to have a dinner. And as, I don't remember the lady's name, but she said that you could bring food inside and eat. We don't allow that over there. It's a menu over there. You have a great time at the restaurant, and and you enjoy yourself in that restaurant. If it was bigger than that, I don't think it would sustain itself. If it was bigger than that. Any restaurant, if it was bigger than, there's restaurants right across the street that are bigger. Most of the time, they're empty because they can't sustain it. And they have restaurants next door, same issue. They're just too big to sustain themselves. And the parking outside, there's never trucks. We don't allow any trucks for deliveries to come around our property. Like not a property, in front of our property. We have strict, it's always in the back, the parking spots for the trucks to unload or load up, whatever they're doing. The only truck that you will see is for those restaurants that are in the front that are not Cherry Hill. There's one, it's called Masal and Momo. They allow their trucks to be parked in the front to unload their produce. And if you have any questions about the restaurant, you could ask me. I know how it works and the movement it does. I've been working there for a long time. I've heard so many stories from people who used to go to Lundy's because I would talk to everybody. And they would tell me, Lundy's, and you guys did such a great job. It's much better than Lundy's used to be. And this is that people tell me they've been going to Lundy's when they were little kids or who grew up, who worked in Lundy's. They said it's much better now than it was back then.
Ms. Efron?
Does the restaurant have a separate kitchen from the takeout?
Separate staff, yes.
But
separate kitchen.
It's a physical separate kitchen?
There's no divider, but it's a separate kitchen that handles strictly for the restaurant. They don't prepare any food there. That's prepared for the food for the takeout.
But it's one physical space?
One physical space, yes.
Thanks.
Any other questions, Mr. Abramov? Thank you very much, Mr. Abramov.
Thank you.
Kamola? No? And Raphael Abramov? No? That is all of the speakers I have on this matter. And is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? And if so, if you wish to be heard, sign up and you can be heard. Otherwise, I'm about to close this hearing.
One gentleman.
First you have to sign in, sir. So, well,
Come this way. Thanks, Jim. Thank you.
well, do you want one of these? Mr. Cohen.
Hi, my name is Rabbi Shlomo Cohen. I'm the director of the Chabad of Sheepshead Bay in...
Pardon me, I didn't see the rabbi.
That's okay. I'm in the community since 1993, and I want to speak on 2 points, one as a rabbi, also one as a father of my family. And the first time I came in to Cherry Hill, it was a few years ago, I don't remember exactly how many years ago. First of all, I was very impressed the way
There was an attendant in the parking lot, and was everything organized. I came there to meet Mr. Isayev David, the owner. I wanted to ask him for help for the people in the community. We do different services. We have meals on the holidays. And I must tell you, I was very, very surprised by his reaction. And the very first day I met him, he loaded up my minivan full with vegetables, with goods, for no charge, to be able to use for the people in the community. And as a father with my family, we enjoy walking down Sheepshead Bay in the summer. And I remember the way it looked before. And I think most of what I want to say already has been said, but I just wanted to point out again the point that I don't see the fact that it's used for a different use. I don't see anything wrong. On the contrary, I only see on the outside, you wouldn't see any difference whether there was, you cannot tell on the outside at all that there is a supermarket there. I shop there sometimes. I shop also in the other supermarkets. And I understand, there's God has plenty for everybody. But I must tell you, on the outside, you cannot see at all that there is a supermarket inside. We see the people sitting outside in the summer. In the winter, you don't see anything, just like any other restaurant. And again, I believe that this is only beneficial to the community in many ways, both helping the community to support the community, support the employees, and I don't see any reason why this should not be approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi. Any questions for Rabbi?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else now who wishes to be heard on this matter? And if not, I'm going to close the hearing. I just want to make one statement. There's a lot of allusions during the course of this testimony to American values, and I just hope that both sides here believe that we've listened to both sides respectfully and pro both sides effectively on their perspective, and I thank all of you for allowing everyone to be heard today. So thank you very much, and with that, we will close this hearing. Thank you.
Citywide, calendar number 24, N150167ZRY, a public hearing in the matter of an application for an amendment of the zoning resolution concerning the stairwells text amendment.
Part of me goes like this, part of me goes like this. I get the point. I get all the points. I'm like, I have to like leave it.
It's not a viable location for business.
Okay.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
First speaker is Edward. First issue is Edward Berrier. Fire department. I'm sorry, I hope we didn't ruin your day.
No, not at all, not at all. It was a good story.
And you didn't list on the sheriff's department title?
Oh, okay. My name is Ed Ferrier. I'm a chief officer at the fire department. I currently work for the Bureau of Fire Prevention. I'm just going to make a statement. The New York City Fire Department firmly supports the inclusion of the additional exit stairway provision in the 2014 New York City Building Code. New York City is among the top high-rise capitals in the world and a significant terrorist target. It possesses a unique combination of building sizes, population, functions, and iconic status. While codes mandate the quality and number of exits for occupancies and type of construction, they cannot always envision unexpected events perpetuated against its built environment as demonstrated on 9/11. The additional stair is a direct result of NIST World Trade Center Recommendation Number 17 for timely full building evacuation of occupants. It has been adopted and included in the 2012 International Building Code, which is one of the many codes of the International Code Council, currently used as New York City's foundation code documents. The provision is not only applicable to a specific building, but affects neighboring buildings if large-scale natural and man-made events are threatening. The extra stair will also provide alternate egress capacity if one of the exits is lost as a consequence of the event or due to firefighting operations. Standard fire department procedures require the exclusive use of a standpipe-equipped exit enclosure for operations and staging. Exiting occupants from upper floors using the same stairwell will be exposed to heat, smoke, and gases migrating upward from the open fire floor door. In the event that one of the two required stairways is lost, descending occupants, ascending firefighters, and the attack on the fire will all be conducted from the same remaining stairwell. Those with mobility impairments will also be affected. Collectively, this will slow egress flow, delay controlling the fire, and endanger more lives. Which group should be given priority? Why should we have to choose? The New York City Fire Department supports the inclusion of the additional stair into the 2014 Building Code for other than R2 buildings, and is hopeful you will support the citywide zoning text amendment. The proposed action will enhance public safety in high-rise buildings and move the built environment into the new millennium.
Thank you very much. Questions? Mr. Knuckles.
Chief, thank you for your testimony and your patience. I know you got here when I got here, so you had to wait a long time. Yesterday, in our review session, I asked a question about the height, the 420 feet, which was apparently a consensus reached. And I'm just wondering, could I assume that you were on in the fire department 14 years ago, September 11?
I like to say I wasn't, but yes, I was.
Right. I'm just wondering, what's your view?
The 420 feet?
Yeah.
Well, the 420 feet really it came from the International Building Code. It was a number that was selected by experts in the field. I believe it was addressed to take care of super high-rise buildings. As you can see today, 432 Park is a super high-rise building. They're all over the place. New York City is one of the largest, has the largest concentration of high-rise buildings probably in the world, aside from, where is that place?
Dubai.
Dubai, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
You know, and I believe also we had an inquiry from Brazil. They came by and they're starting to do high-rise buildings, and they had a meeting with us, and they want to get more information about it. So in many respects, we're viewed as a world leader. You know, and because our inventory of high-rise buildings is so significant, I think something like this should be included and addressed.
Ms. DeLuz.
Chief Farrier, thanks for being here, and also thanks for your patience. Considering that, you know, you focus specifically on fire prevention, one of the things that came up in our review session yesterday was on the occupant self-evacuation elevator.
Oh.
And I'm just wondering, is there, as part of the use of those kinds of elevators, does the fire department mandate special training either to the management companies of the buildings, or that then goes so far as to the tenants, the commercial tenants in the buildings?
Well, the occupant evacuation elevator, again, is something that's part of this whole sequence of events that were as part of the third additional stair.
Yeah.
And the occupant evacuation elevators are supposed to address pre-arrival of the fire department. It's actually going to harden the elevators and allow them to be used. When I say harden, I mean it's going to make them more fire retarded, and it's going to be able to let people evacuating from those floors where the alarms are sounding to use the elevators to evacuate. And the intent is that the faster you move people out of the building or off of the floors, the danger floors, you know, the safer they're going to be. Once the fire department comes in and we take control of the elevators, fireman service or phase one recall, and you've probably seen the buttons. There's fireman service for firefighter use only. There's a key in there. Once we activate that, then we take control of the elevator. So it's really kind of like a fast action type of feature to move people down, and it's supposed to be in concert with their fire safety plan for that particular building. So it's not done like, whereas what's good for one building is not good for all buildings.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cantor.
Chief, with respect to the question of the elevators, my concern is typically on a typical office floor, you don't have buttons showing where the elevator is. We now have this interim period between the discovery of a fire and the opportunity, and the time it takes you guys to show up. There's going to be, in my view, there's going to be a pileup of people trying to get in.
Into the elevators.
Okay, into the elevators. They're now in, and the elevator is obviously called for several floors by bunches of people. It's like trying to get into a subway car in the morning.
Well, just to address that is that,
The cure worse than the,
well, you're not, if you are able-bodied, you're not really supposed to, they don't want you jumping in the elevators. I mean, the thing is that you got to realize that you have staircases that are there for your use as well. So as part of like the fire safety plan, what you're going to do is you're going to look at that, we'll drill with the people, and we'll tell them, you know what, you can use the stairs and you can use the elevators. You're right, it is somewhat of a mindset change, because right now, we don't use elevators.
Right.
We don't use elevators. And, it's funny because I was just telling my colleagues here from DOB, it's ironic that years ago, before we had fireproof buildings, we were always trying to, evacuate the building. And today's logic is that, you know what, if you're not really on the fire floor, stay inside your apartment in a fireproof building, because that's where you're safer. So we had to change our thought process then. And now it's the same thing now. What we're going to do is you have to change the thought process and again, it's not retroactive. It's not going to be all elevators.
Sure.
It's only going to be in those new buildings that elect to use those elevators. And from when I read in the document, there's going to have signage, LED signage, there's going to be voice commands, voice information. There's more that goes with it that's going to, make it more viable and a doable solution.
New elevators in old buildings?
Pardon me?
What about new elevators in old buildings?
Well,
Over
that.
420 feet.
Well, DOB is now on the well, first of all, we have to get like this in a sense. We have to work and get to that point. And then DOB, I believe, is, Helen, I'm doing all your work here, DOB is in the process of starting up the existing building code, which would address, stay tuned, such features, in existing buildings where they do major renovations. So something like that could indeed go in.
But your collective opinion is that access to cars is, at the end of the day, beneficial?
Oh, yeah. And again, it's not for everybody. It's the way the whole system is set up, it's for fast evacuation. Realistically, if there's a sprinkler water flow alarm for that particular floor, or there's like smoke in the elevator lobby where the elevator is, you won't be able to use the elevators. It's kind of, it's supposed to be, I don't want to say it, but like idiot-proof, to a certain extent, so that it'll function automatically. And I think if we train the people on the floor, the occupants, they'll be aware of it. And also, it's not for R2, right? And not for residential, because the residential, they know their building, they're familiar with the staircases, it's all other buildings.
Thank you.
Ms. Efron.
Oh, good, I didn't want to leave.
Thank you for everything you're doing. I'm feeling safer personally as we sit here. I really appreciate it. We were told by city planning staff that one of the reasons it's not for residential buildings is because of there is capacity in the staircases. But what was so compelling about this, in addition to the easier evacuation of commercial buildings, is the ability of firefighters to go up to a site and rescue people who might need rescuing or deal with a fire
In
situation.
super tall buildings.
Can we look forward to something for super tall residential buildings in the future?
It's passed. You're talking to the choir here.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Ferrier?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. Helen Gittleson from the Department of Buildings. You're going to take the other side of this issue? Sorry to keep you waiting, and
It's quite all right.
Why the permit was issued.
Thank goodness that's not my area of expertise. Good afternoon, Chairman Weisbrod and Commissioners. My name is Helen Gittleson. I am the Executive Director of Code Development at the Department of Buildings. I'm here to testify today and ask your support for the proposed zoning text amendment, application number N150-167ZRY. Its passage would effectuate additional safety requirements in the 2014 New York City Building Code for super high-rise non-residential buildings. Following the collapse of the World Trade Center in 2001, the city recognized the need to comprehensively review and modernize the building code, which at that time had last been comprehensively updated in 1968. And I see that Commissioner Cantor is here, and he participated in that effort. So we thank you again for your hard work. The work to bring New York City construction requirements up to date culminated with the passage of Local Law 33 of 2007, also known as the 2008 New York City Construction Codes. An important feature of that legislation was a mandatory periodic revision cycle, a system designed to prevent code standards from becoming obsolete for want of timely revision. It is believed that if New York City's buildings are to continue to function as monuments of the city's ingenuity, vision, and expertise, its construction codes should do the same. In 2011, the Department of Buildings began to work on the mandated code revisions. The revision effort was truly a public-private partnership involving more than 350 participants on 11 committees. The committee members donated more than 48,500 hours, attending more than 255 technical, advisory, and managing committee meetings, just like this. They worked together to resolve issues and craft the revisions to the code that reflect the needs of the city. Their work resulted in the revisions enacted in Local Law 141 of 2013, which is collectively known as the 2014 New York City Construction Codes. Local Law 141 includes many provisions that increase safety within buildings, especially high-rise buildings and super high-rise buildings. Some of these safety provisions implement the recommendations of the National Institute of Standards and Technology, the NIST World Trade Center study report. Specifically, that report recommended to decrease the time it takes to evacuate an entire building in an emergency, increase the ability of first responders to access building occupants, and provide greater redundancy in escape routes to ensure that should one route become unavailable for building occupants, there would be adequate capacity to exit or evacuate the building. I'll skip the portions of Building Code Section 403.5.2, which you've heard already. The major provisions of Local Law 141 became effective on December 31st. However, this section, Building Code Section 403.5.2, will take effect only after the enactment of an amendment to the New York City zoning resolution, providing for the exclusion of the floor area of the additional exit stairway and additional exit stairway width from the calculation of floor area. Hence, why we're here. The Department of Buildings has collaborated with the Department of City Planning and the Fire Department in proposing this citywide zoning text amendment. The proposed action will enact this key NIST recommendation and enhance public safety in affected buildings by requiring additional exiting capacity. We thank you for this opportunity to speak, and we urge you to approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gittleson, and thanks again also to you for your patience for today. And I hope you will submit that testimony to us. Thank you. Questions for Ms. Gittleson? Ms. Delos?
Not so much a question, but more of a comment. Just, I'm always amazed, having sat on the commission now for more than 2 years, something as important as this, and obviously you talked about all the people that participated in the process, and yet, the number of people who can testify, who come to testify is limited, and something as important to the local community as the previous hearing It's just fascinating to me, something this important impacting so many people, how it should receive more attention.
I couldn't agree more with you.
Although I will note, as we were told yesterday, that literally every community board and every borough president
Yes, that's true.
has
And-
supported this,
No one's
so
against it.
it's
Yeah, no
really,
one's against
And to be totally fair, during the construction codes revision cycle, there were public hearings at the city council, and lots of people came to
There's
testify.
consensus, yeah.
So there was consensus for this one
Yeah.
after a while.
Any other questions, Ms. Gittleson? Thank you very much, and thanks both to the fire department and the buildings department for their efforts on this, and it is a really important issue for public safety, and it's, I think, pleasing to all of us that this is going to be enacted in the near future.
Thank you.
Mr. Cantor?
Giving accolades to all the people participating. Got a guy sitting over there right in the front of their office, who once upon a time worked for me, was supposed to learn everything I could cook for me, and then I was working on committees with him, and he told me everything I know about him. But there's a guy who was long, hard, not what the public servant is considered in the lives of many, many people. But he's earned all the accolades he's got.
I would agree with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter, the last matter, or any matter? And hearing none, I will say this hearing is closed. Thank you.